Welcome in one and all, and happy Thursday. We got a triple header of PPL action for you today. Starting off on the cast is going to be me, Dolson, and alongside me is Pretty Hair. And as I said, Nick, we have a triple header today.
Yeah.
What are you kind of looking forward to as teams flesh things out here?
I'm looking forward to Spacestation Gaming playing twice today, right? That's going to be kind of an interesting dynamic. If there's something about their first set that they do like or don't like, that's an opportunity to kind of switch it up, to learn as they go, learn on their feet, and get a warm-up game. That's something that nobody else can say about the PPL this phase.
We normally get like mid-set adjustments, but now you literally get a midday adjustment if you're on the side of Space Station. Of course, here are your standings in the Paladins Premier League. NIP, despite falling to Envy last week, still up top with 10 wins, only 1 loss. Our first set of the day between Kanga and SSG is going to be the 6th place versus the 5th place team, so definitely standings implications to be found there. And kind of looking forward to that set, Nick. Do you think that 5 and 6 is a pretty fair place for both of these teams? Do you think this is truly a 5-6 matchup?
Well, there's a bit of an ebb and a flow to the standings, right? Because you've got some teams that have played maybe one more game, some teams that have played way less when you're looking at SSG. That's why they're playing twice today. That's why they're playing again tomorrow. They're catching up. They didn't start playing until week 4. So it's really hard to say, honestly, because some teams have a very difficult schedule left in front of them. Some teams have an easier schedule left in front of them. I know we were reviewing, I think it was Virtus Pro yesterday, and they have a very difficult schedule ahead of them. So times are not getting easier for them, and SSG just still have so many teams to play.
That's true. I mean, with 4 games this week, we'll get a good indication of really where they stand by the end of it. Of course, looking over at Space Station, Matau, the healer for their side, he was a little sick last week, but ended up playing a really good set.
I would say very sick.
I know, he was looking rough in the booth for sure.
I didn't hear that. Nobody said, like, oh, I didn't hear the word on the street, right? And then we went to his player cam, and I was just like, ooh. No offense, but I was just like, damn, he does not look himself today. He is dragging very clearly.
And still played a really great set, and one of the better healers in this league for sure. We talk about maybe flexibility. What do you look for out of Matau?
For Mitau, it's just that. It's flexibility, and one of the few, and he's kind of an OG when you think about it. I don't know how long exactly he's played the game, but you look at Gara, Cuskcutie, guys that are playing Ying. Mitau also noticeably, I think, pretty comfortable on Ying. Now with Furia getting some buffs and coming storming back into the meta, I'm curious to see where he sits with that character today.
Of course, Freeze God, literally the opposite role on this team. He's going to be responsible for doing most of the damage here for Space Station Gaming, and he's a very pop-offy type of player. I always like to harken back to the first game they played after being gone for a little while, and he got like a quadra kill and a triple kill on Serpent Beach, game number 1 that he came back. And that's what I look for out of him is, you have to do the damage, do consistent damage, but every once in a while, you have some pop-off moments.
I would say Eevee has obviously been such a strong flanker, and Blasters. Everyone outside of really Alex has to kind of know how to play this character, and I would say Drogos has fallen out of favor. I would say Bomb King has even fallen a little bit out of favor.
True.
Still picked some time to time on maps. Those were like his big picks, and one of the big styles that was known about Freeze God was like he was so safe, such a safe player. Never really showed himself unless he was coming to kill you, and that was almost just like, oh no, there he is. What am I doing wrong? Like, what am I out of position? Like, you almost were thinking about what you were doing wrong if he was really pushing you.
And with Blasters being in the place that they are, I mean, that Evil Eye sort of FRZ God combination picks bans is going to be interesting today. Of course, to compare apples to apples, you have to look over at Kanga and Gara this time, the healer for Kanga. Do you draw some parallels between Gara and Mitau?
Both strong Damba players, both very experienced, will bring out the Ying if it comes to that. But like I said, I think with the changes to Furia, a lot of people are leaning that way, because the difference between Ying and Furia for me is that Furia is still that, high throughput healer, similar to keep up with a Maldamba, right? A little bit different than Genos, but what she brings is that ultimate that's different. It's not a healing throughput ultimate. It's not even a crowd control ultimate like a lot of supports can be, like when you look at Maldamba. When you're talking about Inflame, it's up very, very quickly, and it can almost pseudo-luminary your whole team for, you get that damage in, you get that very, very large combat efficiency buff for 8 seconds.
And seeing that, actually, it was very fun. I think it was Renegades who played her in a couple of their games last week, and it's almost like a go button. The moment that Inflame gets hit, the rest of the team gets aggressive, and it's so fun to watch those team fights unfold. Of course, looking over at Chronix as well, similarly to Freeze God, more of a direct damage dealer in this case, but we were kind of hashing it out Of course, F. joining us today, kind of walking him through some of the storylines that have unfolded. And we kind of said that Chronix was the guy you have to watch on Kanga.
Absolutely, and I think that's true for a couple of reasons. Well, the most important to me being that when Diggy Dog left this team, he was sort of one of the last veterans in this squad, right? He had just added a couple new members. I think they still did fairly well last year, but it was all about Chronix growing maybe as a leader for this Kanga roster, switching roles all the time. I think, you know, Frontline's probably his shortest stint that he did, but, you know, playing a lot of support, played DPS before moving to that support role, so now he's back on DPS after playing support all last season. So it's a whirlwind for Chronix, and he's really done his best, and I think a pretty damn good job overall at transitioning back and being competitive in this role.
And I love watching him play. Of course, Kanga as a whole, I mean, this has pretty much been a storyline over the past few weeks, but a team that has been trending upwards. They kind of had a rocky start. Some statement wins over the likes of Virtus Pro have really started to make people question where they truly belong in a good way on these standings here today. Is this sort of a statement day today for them, would you say, going against SSG?
I think so. This is getting make or break time. Teams have 10, 11 games under their belt. They're only going to be playing 14 across the split, so you need to start getting these wins. Like I said, Kanga in I wouldn't say worst, but it's the worst best case scenario where they are just above the cutoff for the MSI. Everyone wants to make it there. Kanga are just in that position, and hopefully they can make sure that they stay in that top 6.
Yeah, it's very, very important, especially at this point. I mean, Spacestation would be viewed as, you know, a shoo-in for the MSI, but I mean, really as it stands,
top
granted
3
they
is
have
what they were projected.
And granted they have, you know, 4 games to play this week. They'll have some games next week as well. So you know, potential movement one way or the other truly for Spacestation this week. So it'll be fun to see really where things pan out.
After we wrap up here, guys, we only have 2 more weeks of competition in the PPL. It's gone by very, very quickly. The minor league, the console leagues wrapped up already. Those teams locked in for the midseason invitational here. Bans fairly standard, what you'd expect to see. Stone Keep is your map. Remember that, as we see Con drafted first, Ash Eevee taken second.
And Tyra has, on this map, honestly come into favor a little bit. Chronix, actually, notably, speaking of Kanga, played Tyra the last time around this was played, and he felt so comfortable. He looked so comfortable on that champion, especially on this map, able to utilize that high ground and kind of ruckus Junior it with the crossfire just from up above, especially when the team creates the space that he needs. SSG, though, they find an early Con, Cassie, and Maldamba. That Cassie's a good sort of 2 for pick. It's a good pick over on their side, but as well as not allowing Chronix to go over to that is important as well. Leon's kind of been in an interesting spot where we've seen her get played. Normally, she's a shoe-in for every single game. Where do you think she lands now?
She's kind of more niche. I think you have to have a player that loves to play the champion first and foremost. And then beyond that, I think you still need that good matchup additionally. Before, it was this character that was basically good all the time. You had a lot of self-sustain because you were getting so many presences off consistently. And there's a loadout card that heals you on use, not even on hit, on use. And because your usage was so high of that ability, it's very easy to run her, very easy to just continue to kind of dominate team fights and have more cooldowns than the enemy team had to play. And hold the phone.
That's not allowed, right?
T-Daddy.
Surely not. We're definitely getting memed right now. Maybe not. Maybe he comes through. Bomb King, of course, being hovered is the notable thing over there on the side of SSG.
Mustache. That is a man of truth and ideals and principles.
That's true. Well, it is a man of truth.
Let's go.
Hello, Terminus.
I mean,
the first time in the PPL this split. I mean, tell the people what you're expecting out of Terminus.
All right, young blood, let me take you back to a time.
Let me sit you down on my knee.
I mean, God, dude. Legitimately, maybe a year and a half. I don't even remember the last time it might have been like right after he came out. I mean, this character, just being honest with you, Chad, he's been a mess. He's been buggy. He has been not in a great place. Finally worked on, brought back into just, you know, playability. Finally, we'll get to see some action.
Carefully, heathen,
PPL SSG have locked in the man who can swing. So, what do we expect to see from him? Last time he was played, I would say the new playstyle that was kind of swirling around was actually something I remember Bugsy doing. It was Decimation. Basically what this does is it adds 100 damage to your Calamity Blast. Now, I assume most of you know how the Terminus kit works. He's got a big axe, he swings, he can jump at you, slow you with his movement ability, but it sends out a big shockwave. but the most important abilities is Power Siphon. It's like this big purple school bus that just is anti-video gaming, and everything that goes through it dies. As he absorbs damage through this school bus, he's charging his Calamity Blasts, and with that extra 100 damage from the talent, in combination with a loadout card that reduces the threshold of damage you need to absorb to generate one of these missiles, that's sort of the style. So you would generate 4 of these missiles very quickly, get in somebody's face, full commit, and just try and blow them up with a huge burst of damage.
Well, hopefully you guys are taking notes, because you're going to get to see Terminus here today. We're already starting off hot. We got a triple header for you today, and they're not wasting any time getting into it. Stone Keep, map number 1. Terminus comes through. What role do you expect him to fill here for Sadak? Sort of that off-tank aggressive role?
This is, man, this was not what I was expecting, to be honest. Quick shout out to the Skink. We get a third-person peek at that bad boy. I mean, he's got the Yeti hammer. He's got the Yeti skin. I love all of it. But this is the loadout that we were sort of talking about. Necromantic Mike is that card that reduces the threshold of damage you need to survive, or to generate one of those missiles. Successful hits with your Calamity Blast grant 5% Power Siphon charge. Power Siphon has seen so many changes over its lifetime that it's very interesting to me that this is kind of still the style we're seeing him go. He really came into the scene as a natural, just hefty, almost counter to a Nara, somebody who could just be as tanky as her and stand on the objective.
Look how aggressive he's already getting. Sadak, of course, utilizing that absorption right there. As you can see, they find themselves on the point first. And just controlling this backline right here. Slams down. First kill of the game goes over to Terminus. Sadak not wasting even a moment. Evil Eye's able to answer back onto Freeze God here, though, but just swinging away, chunking away at the Ash. But Kanga, they're fighting from the point right now. 54% for them. Sadak's going low. He's going to be able to block out a little bit of that damage. But unfortunately, he is going to end up getting cleaned up by Evil Eye. That's what you have to look out for. You get the Bomb King on the Space Station side, but you give Evil Eye that Eevee, he can pop off.
He certainly can, and he's going to need to. Eevee's going to be a huge pick against SSG. Something that they need to make sure that they have buttoned up. They can't pick this just to take it away from Freeze God. They have to pick it up, and they have to do well with it. I think Tyra's definitely going to help to enable that, but a lot of the weight rests on Evil Eye's shoulders.
Just so funny watching Sadak. Unfortunately, Chronix has been bullied twice. Rhino now taking this one over with a double kill on the Ash. It looks like Kang are going to be able to seal up point number 1. And they do. All right, so initial impressions of how Terminus performs here.
So one important thing to note about Terminus with this current composition is Maldamba. Having Maldamba paired with Terminus is extremely important because of this loadout card called Swift Spirits for Maldamba. Anytime somebody is being healed by Mending Spirits, they get 35% additional move speed. That's a Nimble 3 right out of the gate. Nimble 3 plus 5%, if you will. And Terminus is big, sturdy, but slow boy. He brought a knife to a gunfight, so being in range of targets is something that he can really, really struggle with. So having that extra, wow, the noise from that hammer is brutal, by the way. Having that extra movement speed from Maldamba's heal is incredibly important.
He's made it look good so far. Take a quick look at the slash lines just to see where everyone stands. I believe he had a couple kills. Yeah, 2, 2, and 4. I mean, most of the kills he's had a hand in up to this point. Gets taken out right here, make that 2, 3, and 4. Chronix, it's really been the duel of Chronix versus Sadak.
Yeah.
Both people have gotten one or the other, and Flame coming through for Kanga right now, and Rhino's going to take that as a cue to get aggressive here. Joel's is going to be the benefactor of that kill. Chronix with another one as well. They're just fighting back to the payload right here.
Trying to resume the push as well. Mittal doing his best, but he's kind of in there at that point. Had to go down swinging. I love seeing Rhino back on Ash, though. This is something he played incredibly well the initial couple weeks of the phase. However, they really stopped playing it. Rhino really, really took off with Atlas. That was a really, really great pick to introduce for him, and he's done extremely well with it. But now that Atlas is, for all intents and purposes, permabanned in those first couple of weeks, some teams are like, I don't think you can even play this character. Yeah. We're going to let him through. We're going to let you have it, or maybe we're going to take it. But at this point, I would love to see some more Ash, if possible, from Rhino.
I believe Sadak, yeah, he did just pop the ultimate, so back to life, gets his second shot at things here, just dancing around in that Maldamba healing, trying to keep himself alive as long as possible. Already back to 8%, so obviously the more damage he does, the quicker that's going to charge up. Rhino gets tossed over, but bashes right off the side. Goes the con in this case. Kanga getting pretty close here to pushing this one in. Rhino's at about half health. The Dread Serpent flies. Does not look like it got too much value on that one. Spacestation with not too much to capitalize on, but killing off Freeze God to start things off. He does trade off. There's the overpower. That's going to get rid of one. Rashao, Freeze God, both with a kill in this fight. Rhino staying alive longer than the rest of his team, but gets cleaned up here by Ares. With overtime ticking away, you only have 2 members left on Kanga. That's certainly going to do it. And a good defensive stand here from Space Station.
They might only have 2 members left, but they have 5 ultimates available.
Yep.
Space Station Gaming using the Maldamba Dread Serpent, the Reanimate from Terminus, as well as the Overpower from Khan. That is a lot of resources expended, and now they're going to have to fight a very, very steep uphill battle in the next round because Kanga have just everything available.
There's a little glimpse at Sadak playing the Terminus boy in this one. I mean, would you say had a good impact to start off?
Kind of. I think it's a weird sort of thing where you have to almost like learn how to get back on the horse again, because positioning, like I said, incredibly important when you bring a knife to a gunfight. Here's all the talents selected for these players.
I like that.
Shout outs to Zayed, and we love those. We love to see that. That's a new little graphic kind of whipped up for you guys, just to make that viewing experience a little bit easier for you all. Terminus again running that decimation. That missile right there hits for 350 instead of 250 off the top roll. Monday Night Raw, brother. That's the best.
My God, he had a family. He is broken in half.
That is the best part, hands down, and one
absolutely.
of the top 5 ways, indisputable, to get a kill in Paladins.
Didn't get a kill this time around. Actually, Gara on the Furia is going to be the one to do it. And Flame comes through for Kanga right now. They could get aggressive up here. Rhino controlling this side of the high ground. The banner comes down as well, but that was worn out. And he has a few members of Space Station looking right down his barrel, so he needs to be careful and back off here. Sadak, unfortunately, catches the end of that one. Here comes the King Bomb, though. It depends really who he's looking for right now. Finds the stun onto Rhino, but he gets so low in the meantime, he has to back off and get out of this one. Crossfire through from Chronix as well. He finds one. He's damaging away at Freeze God, unable to find the second. But what's important here, Nick, they have point number 2.
Damn straight. That was a really, really nice rotation from Rhino to make sure not only does he gets the shield down, but then when he takes King Bomb, it's okay that he gets stunned because he was still behind his shield. Rhino does a really, really good job in the most true frontline sense, jumping on the literal grenade for his squad and staying alive while doing it.
And that was really the ultimate difference, I think, that you noted coming into it. Space Station had a couple, but Kanga really had all 5, and they could pop them right when they saw necessary. They did just that. So they have 2 points here on Stonekeep. It's really honestly been a slugfest up to this point. Granted, only 3 points in, but this is maybe what some people were predicting set wide. We're already seeing it come to fruition here, game number 1.
They had Scout and they had King Bomb. King Bomb was dealt with nicely, so the rest was history. Kanga in and out of the ice block here. Evil Eye dueling out with Ares. Ares actually getting the better of him for now, trading out kill for kill. This is an important team fight. If Kanga win this handily, they might be able to convert.
Could absolutely go through. That's a really high value shield there from the Barret. Getting stunned up is Evil Eye, but he gets out, gets a little bit of healing. Plugging away at Ares, this is the big 1v1 you have to keep your eyes on. Whoever gets the better of that one opens up such a huge door for the rest of their team to walk through. Up to this point, it's been a little bit of Ares, been a little bit of Evil Eye, things slowing down just for a moment, but neither of these teams letting off the gas pedal. It seems like the action continues not only from the point, but right on through. Gara with the opening kill onto Ares, then one onto Sadak. It's a 3 versus 5, make it a 3 versus 4 right now. There's the Dread Serpent, but doesn't find too much damage. It's really only down to Matau and Rashao, but he might get cleaned up as well. That's a clean sweep from Kanga. The respawns are through, but the dismounts could be good, and it's going to be 3 points here for Kanga Esports.
Chronix just fights his way out of that fear. The Inflame was good. You can see Sadak pretty visibly frustrated, but at least they have a clear issue that they want to address. That's always kind of a silver lining when I think a team gets frustrated and they're talking a lot. It's still a good thing. You don't want to see them fall silent. But on the topic of Kanga, I mean, this is an impact of Furia that we just haven't seen from other supports. Her damage is very, very relevant, especially at that range. He helps Evil Eye win that 1v1, hits the Inflame gas pedals, and everyone's doing more relevant damage. Already with a man advantage, you're seeing the morale boost come through. This is an ultimate that is up very frequently. You can see already back to almost 30% charge after just having used it.
And resilience as well. We talk about how cheap it is and how much value you get out of a cheap item like that. I mean, so many ultimates on the side of Space Station will get mitigated by that resilience. Early hammer there from Sadak. Rhino finds Actually, I didn't quite catch that interaction. He gets a kill at least onto Sadak. Chronix with the second. Freeze God, though, trading back with one onto Gera. Now Rhino can really take this fight over if he's able to basically draw a line in the sand, say you're not coming out of this keep here. Sadak with the reanimate, I think, or maybe just the respawn, gets back into this fight right now. He goes low. And Evil Eye sees to it that Sadak is finally dealt with once and for all.
How many times is Sadak going to pop up in the kill
feed? Right, here he is again.
In this fight. He's already back to business. You keep killing him and he keeps on coming back, and he's actually going to turn it around. A second life is enough for Sadak.
And he finds a double now on Terminus. The second life, the second kill in this one. Spacestation will have the fast cap. The zone looks to be good here. So I imagine point number 2 going over to Spacestation. They'll be pushing to try to tie up the game. Kanga with nothing else to win. Oh, actually the assert dominance, as I say it, comes through, and that's going to be good for overtime. The King Bomb does not find any stuns, and he gets some chunk damage returned onto him. Evil Eye could get aggressive onto Freeze God, but he backs off. And Kanga have fought their way back in, and Spacestation have nothing to deal with it. Evil Eye, Chronix, both with the kill here. Jules goes within an inch of his life, and he ends up falling though, Nick.
There it is. That's a beautiful M-Flame just to get Kanga Esports back on track. More and more kills flowing in, and that's just going to do it right then and there. Kanga Esports looking infallible on Stone Keep.
What an important assert dominance that was from Rhino. Didn't use it in the fight prior, and that's all he needed to get back in, get the re-engage, get back on the point. Instead of it being 3-2, now it's 4-1.
Who started that overtime?
Was
that Evil Eye maybe?
I think. Oh, he might have gotten the early touch onto it, and then the assert dominance really cemented themselves onto it. But wow, what a team fight there. I mean, that's got to be aggravating if you're on the side of Space Station.
Yeah, pretty frustrating. You could see in the player cams there was definitely a lot of chit chat going on in the Space Station side of the booth. This Terminus definitely brought out, kind of made its waves, but you can see it's a pick that has always been pretty niche outside of literally, I don't know, the first couple of weeks it was out. It was very, very strong, extremely tanky, and that's sort of what it was used for. And ever since then, he's really just kind of fumbling around on maps, trying to find a way, and most of the time with this decimation talent like we've seen.
And I mean, that's definitely something that,
I mean, you could see the light on it, right?
No,
that little, like, 700 damage snipe up the stairs to Chronix. You add 2 additional missiles on top of that, there's a lot of burst potential.
Well, Kanga start off the day in very quick fashion. They go up 1-0 in set number 1. Let's send it to the desk and hear their thoughts.
The desk today here at the Paladins Premier League. My name is Tom Badiger, joined here by the illustrious Gormizer, and we just saw game number 1, Kanga stretch it out and take it.
And that was the thing that was pretty impressive. I mean, a lot of things to unpack overall in that map, which, I mean, the big one's probably Terminus being not only unpacked, unbanned, brought back into the game. And the thing that I was kind of looking at this entire time was, does he stand as strong as he used to? And I think the answer is kind of no. He melted in a lot of those engagements.
He really did melt. Now, anytime you see something, because we haven't seen Terminus at all this split this season, and so with that in mind, I think there's a little bit of plus and minus. You've got a little bit of he's just not the same character that he used to be, but also, I mean, players are probably not as used to really playing the Terminus at this level of competition. So you've got a little bit. One game is not going to take me off the Terminus train just yet. I need to see more of this character before I say he's trash, don't play him. That's why I said
And I think they're actually in this awkward area where it looked really good where they were playing it, but I think the styles they were going for was just 2 aggro tanks. They were playing both the Khan and the Terminus to be more aggressive. And for some fights like this one, you could see it be effective, but when it came to standing on the point, Barrick is going to outlast you 10 times out of 10 every engagement. And then Ashe, especially when she has her ult, is just going to ult onto the point, either kill you, stun you, or set you up to be killed and make it perfect for the team.
Well, I think that's kind of, talks directly to the situation wherein Terminus used to be more of a point tank, and now he's a little bit more of an aggro tank. And, I mean, if we're honest about Space Station Gaming, this is a team with a lot of potential, but they haven't really stood up to it. And I think part of the reason that they haven't stood up to their potential is because they're a little bit slow on the uptake when it comes to adjusting to the new meta, kind of the changes in the game. SSG don't grab onto them. So new Terminus changes to the game. Again, I'm seeing the same thing.
Yeah. And another thing that kind of catches my eye, first off, me and you were talking a little bit about these teams. Like, what are they going to prioritize? What are we looking at?
Right.
Kanga go for Ashe first pick. Ashe is really good for their team. It's one of those awkward moments where they're going to be really good if they get a Genos. They're going to be good if they get an Atlas. They're going to be good if they get a Khan. But they're going to be good if they get an Ashe. There's almost too much to ban against them. And that's kind of going to make it, I think, more awkward for SSG because they have to kind of take away their own champion pool to hurt Kanga.
Exactly. A pick is the same as a ban in the sense that the opposition can't play it. And with the addition of Terminus into the cast of characters, that just makes Kanga better. This is a team that leans on their aggro tanks a whole lot. Joel's is been a standout player here for these guys, and I think that's a big part of what's going on here is the fact that Terminus, oh no, I guess we've got to take him, says SSG, because they know what lies on the other side.
I will say it makes it a little more interesting because a lot of even last map, we had 3 frontline bans, and normally we've seen 4 being able to come through. Having Terminus back into the mix does kind of open up another frontline to be there. So you can't just ban 4 frontlines and be like, cool, we're going to make you push the bottom of the barrel. Like, we can change a little bit of this because of that.
Stonekeep done, son. Frog Isle. It's a real-life location, by the way. That'll be our second map of the day, and we'll see where this one winds up. Kanga with the first pick, and, of course, Torvald banned. No surprise, Makoa. Can we just...
at this point, we should, if we're going to change the ban list, it should just be those 2.
Yeah.
I don't think, I saw someone, I can't remember, 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was walking down the hall, and there was a scrim, and someone had Makoa, and they, gave me a thumbs up and smile, and I was like, why are you practicing him? You're never going to get to play him, and he never comes through. But it's still worthwhile. And I actually think the biggest ban out of all of those is the Eevee, because both of these teams have a phenomenal Eevee, but recognizing, I guess, exactly what Kanga just did, where they were like, cool, Khan is the first pick that we need,
right?
Then they can go tank plus Eevee, and if they get that, then it's a dangerous game.
So Eevee taken away here. Khan, big guy, tiny head. He'll be the first pick here for Kanga. Again, just Kanga prioritizing those off tanks, those aggressive characters that can just mess you up in all actuality, looking for those aggressive plays. SSG, Barik and Ashe. And I love these answers because Barik and Ashe are 2 characters that Kanga, it's their playstyle. And so, like we said, a pick is a ban. And so we're taking Ashe away from Kanga. Barrick's going to be able to provide some point position as well. Spacestation Gaming, off to a good start.
And the other thing that's can kind of help control, Ashe and Barik are, I would say, hands down, the 2 best front lines you could have with a Genos.
Okay.
Whereas Khan's going to be really good with it, but if you're forcing them to go for, well, maybe a Terminus, maybe an Inara, something that needs more sustain behind it, they are kind of making Kanga want to pull away from going for anything luminary based, whereas again, Barik, Ashe not only can survive with that amount of healing, but the bonus damage makes them kind of upwards on the scale of a DPS character.
What doesn't kill me?
Maeve has been on the rise, and she'll show up here for Kanga. It's interesting seeing the Maeve, her recent rise to prominence, Maldama, the healer of choice here for Kanga. I mean, she just hasn't really been, she's not exactly the #1 picked champion here. So why has she been popular lately?
Honestly, originally you could have said, well, maybe it's going to be executing. Obviously, front lines have been very big, but it is bonus damage in the shots. She does a lot of damage, and much like Eevee, especially on LAN, she's mobile. She is super mobile. And while she doesn't have the damage reduction that she used to have with that mobility, she can get out of a fight, get into a fight like it's nothing. And that's kind of where we see Eevee come through. A lot of players have been making her big, and considering, when you have that bonus damage talent come through, you're hitting for about 1,000 every single time you throw your daggers. You're going to be very prominent in pretty much every fight.
A lot of disruption as well. That's really what Maeve brings. You're just sitting there and you're, what's going on? Oh no, I'm hit from this side.
Where is she?
Exactly. And I mean, picking Strix into the Maeve is an interesting choice because Maeve harasses snipers very, very well. Genos, picked here for SSG, will be the healer of choice. Barik and Ashe will have some healing.
The biggest thing is, like you said, Strix into Maeve. Like, SSG, with their draft right now, they've got their front lines, they've got their support, they've got one mainstay DPS. And the next thing that they're going to be looking for is, well, what do we get as a flank? But with Eevee banned, with Maeve already picked up, there's not many that are still played that are considered, like, quote-unquote meta that come into my mind. So I'm kind of curious where they're going to drive this one. A lot of teams at this point, they will go for, like, a Cassie early on. They'll just be like, they'll double down on their damage dealing just to see where it gets them.
Strix chosen. That means Kinessa's going to be opted into to sort of answer back. There's the Cassie you were looking for. Gormizer always on point. That's why they pay you the big crystals.
Nothing feels better than when you say it and then it happens, because then you're just like, cool, okay, I put myself out on a limb there, and they followed through.
That's what you're looking for. SSG hoping they can follow through as they put themselves out here on a limb. Looking at this draft, honestly, I like what Kanga have. I like the Khan. I think the Maeve is always special, but SSG just seems a little bit more traditional, a little bit more the level of execution required. It's just easier to play. It's
an interesting battle on two fronts, because Kanga, it feels like their win condition is kind of get Maeve, get Kinessa, kill off Strix and Cassie, and then just control the point because they have tankier targets. Whereas SSG are big tank killers. Like, they don't care as much about Kinessa. Obviously, it's going to be a big match. Maeve's going to be a big match, but they're just trying to kill Inara.
Kanga up game 1. Let's see what happens game 2.
Going down to Frog Isle. Game number 2, Kanga finds win number 1 here in our first set of this triple header Thursday. And that was a pretty convincing win there on Stone Keep, Nick. I mean, it
certainly was.
That final point fight could have really made the game a different look, but a 4-1 is what the final scoreline looks like there. Of course, we get a little sniper battle here. Chronix ever so comfortable on this Kinessa. What are your thoughts on SSG going Strix over Kinessa first? Do you really think the sniper is just personal preference as far as first or second pick?
I think this match, I mean, it kind of applies to all sniper matchups, but that first shot is pretty important. I think Flare is very, very good on this map as well. It allows you to know exactly when Kinessa is about to peek out, maybe helping you get that first shot a little bit cleaner most of the time. Chronix, I think, is just going to be able to pump out more damage on this Kinessa with that sniper rifle. He takes the first shot from Strix as well, rotates around, and that's something Strix can't do, is just make that rotation with the transporter.
And of course, a big thing to look at is the desk pointed out as well, is how uncomfortable can Evil Eye on this Maeve make Freeze God here on this Strix. Right now, Evil Eye is just kind of dancing around that final, catches a shot from Kinessa, has to back out and get some healing. That's enough to allow Kanga to push up here, rotating around this right-hand side. First blood finally comes through. Chronix getting the better of that sniper 1v1. Evil Eye now has the freedom to run around and really get up in the face. The daggers are good on this one. There's a little bit of a pounce, but Sadak finds a kill right back onto Rhino at 90% now. Spacestation actually have the numbers advantage, but as I say it, Chronix answers back, and point number 1 goes the way of Kanga.
Is there any other name to utter other than Chronix there?
No,
I mean,
there's not.
he shoulders the entire team fight, realistically. I thought there was going to be a moment where he did that initial damage on the stairs to Ash as well as to Cassie, and I thought, Rhino and Evil Eye are going to get in there and clean this one up for sure, but it just didn't happen, and he started to clean everything up. Flipped up and served, pull the clay pigeon. Chronix with another nice shot on the Sadak.
And you got to watch out for Kanga on this map. I believe it was Navi or NIP that they were playing on, and they clean sweeped the enemy team when they were I mean, it was a fast 4-0 the last time around. 5-0-0 for Chronix to start off this game. 2.5 minutes in. He has all the kills right now for Kanga. The rest of the team is doing a great job at buying him some space. An early Dread Serpent as well. That gets a couple on the side of Space Station Gaming. They go running. That serves up another one. 6 kills now for Chronix through time and space. He's able to dance out. Oh, but the headshot on the Freeze God. Kanga, they're rolling right now, and they could push this one in.
He knows. Genos, look at him. He's just dancing around like, I know I have to sit back here. Varric trying to retreat as well. Chronix is decimating Space Station Gaming with this Kinessa. The damage is far too much. The accuracy is prime, and he is rocking and rolling. He's gotten probably 90% of Kanga's kills this round.
Evil Eye finally gets a number in the kill column for somebody else on the side of Kanga. Sadak is able to answer back, but onto Evil Eye. Rhino as well getting a kill for Blue in this case. Oh, good stun. Prevents the shoulder dash. Oh, but there's no one there in contest range. Joel's on the Inara, finds one onto Sadak and to Ares. And what a convincing first half here from Kanga. That's about a 3-minute round 1.
This is looking rough. This is falling quickly out of favor of SSG. One remark I will make is that Cassie and Strix, I would say I'm a little surprised to the players they went to. Traditionally, I would give a Freeze God that Cassie, and I would give Ares that Strix. I think he's been primarily the hit scan, sort of dedicated sniper player as well. A lot of times you do get Freeze God on Eevee on this map, but Kanga were smart enough to ban it out.
Look at that, 7-0-2 for the Kinessa, 36,000 damage, good for top in the game. And then the next 3 are red for Space Station Gaming. That just shows you the impact Chronix has had on this one. I mean, lots of times you say, all right, the sniper does a lot of blast hitting, but in this case, he's serving him up and eating the meal for himself. Evil Eye's had a good impact as well. The Midnight is ready, but already 24% from Kanga. Here's the Midnight. That's going to make things tough now for Spacestation, especially with the long-range sniper firing away at you from the back line. It looks like it's timed out just as of now. He knows where these low-health targets are as well. If he catches just a glimpse of one, you imagine he'll make good on it. Evil Eye instead is going to clean up Rochelle, but fighting with 57% on the point now are Kanga.
Chronic's just like struggling to find a shot at the moment, and Kanga are still winning this fight.
Yeah.
That is what is so scary. I was going to ask, without that miracle performance, what does this Kanga team fight look like? And the answer is still good.
They're
still
scared.
winnable.
They're fighting so scared of the Kinessa. If they realize if we poke a head out, she's going to finish off these last hits, which opens the door for someone like Rhino, someone like Evil Eye to round that corner and finish off the kill. And that's a beautiful example of it where Chronix can find some plug damage. He doesn't necessarily have to find the kills. The rest of Kanga can team fight around it. And 3-0, 5 minutes into game number 2 here. Kanga, well, they're pushing for the win, and they could get it.
Part of that is just mentality-wise. I don't think Spacestation were really in that round. Chronix set such a blistering pace in round number 1 that it almost looks like they're playing scared. They're just like realizing that any misstep that they make, Chronix has been punishing. Huge headshot there, and another one off the back of the small little CC at the windup of Overpower.
And this is the perfect spot for Chronix to be. I mean, you flourish when you're fighting on this point fight, but hanging back right here, especially when you're hitting as many shots as he is, the rest of Kanga can push up, and that keeps Chronix back and safe right there. There's a through time and space that goes through, doesn't find a kill. Instead, Sadak is going to be the one to find number 1 here. But Chronix is still alive, and we keep saying his name. Gara, 0-0-10 as well. He's topping everyone off on the side of Kanga. You cannot forget the healer in this case because he's been alive the entire time. Rhino on the aggressive Khan. He finds a couple. This one could be going in for Kanga. We could be looking at a 4-0. And oh my, that was convincing. I hope you didn't blink.
Oh me, oh my. What a great little sequence from Gara at the end there. Hitting heals, throwing gourds, auto-attacking, ulting, everything but the kitchen sink and the slither. Looking good for Gara. You get to see, when you watch a support player at the highest level, sort of those like little split seconds decisions that they're making. Gara shooting some auto attacks, but realizes this guy's pretty much done and dusted. I'm going to move on to my next checklist here, and that's throwing a gourd. Throws the gourd, throws the ult. He had so much to do there, but again, Chronix is the man with the plan, and hitting those shots was very, very nice to see him, Frog Isle.
Well, game 2's over almost as fast as it starts. 4-0 for Kanga, makes it 2-0 on the day. Just 2 wins away from the clean sweep. Let's send it back to the desk and hear their thoughts on game 2.
You know, I liked Space Station Gaming's draft, Gore. I really did, but this one was just, I think you could have selected any champs on that side. Kanga just played so damn well that they get the win. I don't really care what they picked.
Kanga played well, and Chronix was hitting shots. This is actually the one thing like I was pointing out to you was that, admittedly, SSG, the one thing I think they've been lacking in my mind is someone that stands out as a sniper. And that's kind of where this came down to, is Chronix will absolutely be able to pick up a Kinessa and make you feel the pain, whereas anyone on SSG just doesn't quite have that same impact.
I mean, yeah, exactly. FRZ God is such a dynamic player, but Ares just doesn't bring the capacity on the sniper, so FRZ God has to play the Strix, and that kind of, cut it short. So instead, Chronix is able to do whatever the hell he wants. 9-0-4, 61,000 player damage here on the long-range sniper. And again, this was largely unchecked because the other side, like you said, from SSG, just isn't able to do the same thing.
And, I mean, there were so many shots and so many moments. I mean, obviously, Undying is going to be great for you, but, like, those shots, the headshot where it's just like, cool, you showed yourself for a split second, and I'm going to be able to connect to it. The same thing that makes Chronix really good on Cassie, the same thing that makes him really good on Leon, is just as applicable, if not more so, here on the Kinessa when you kind of get to see the full beast unleashed.
It's interesting because, again, like I said, there's so many things that shift here when you force Space Station Gaming to go into the sniper. FRZ God has to come off of one of his more powerful characters because he's got to play the sniper, because you're not going to see it do well for Eric. But it was interesting because Space Station Gaming understand Frog Isle's a sniper map. We've got to go into it. So they pick Strix, assumably to make themselves a little bit more comfortable, but it hurts them in the long run. lack of a true flank as well on SSG. Do you think that was an issue, or that because there wasn't really a strong pick?
I think it definitely hurts them, and that again kind of divides the line where it's just like, well, you have to have FRZ God on Strix because you have this Cassie. I actually wouldn't have mind seeing them maybe switch, but it's that where is Ares comfortable? Can he play the sniper at the level he thinks? And whether or not that's going to make the big difference is always the big question. But no Eevee, Maeve was already picked up, and I want to say almost unwillingness to go into any of the other flanks, even though admittedly they're not big right now, kind of, I want to say, hurts them in that circumstance.
Well, I mean, you were saying the C pool, the champion pool there for Ares, not exactly the largest, and so this is where that weakness is going to be able to be shined on a little bit more so. So Spacestation Gaming hopefully able to turn it around in game number 3. They'll be playing on Splitstone Quarry.
And this was actually one that I think I just said when we were talking about it, I didn't expect to see them go to, specifically because snipers can still be good here. Although I will admit, they've fallen off way heavier on Splitstone Quarry than I think on any other map. Like Timber Mill, you go there, it's still a sniper map. Frog Isle, you go there, it's still a sniper map. Splitstone used to be a sniper map, but because of the way play has shifted, Cassie and Leon are probably your top 2 damage dealers on this map, just because they can do the close range fight if they need to, they can do a mid range, they can do long range, they'll fill every single checkbox you need.
At the same time, if I'm Kanga and I identify what just happened, I'm forcing this to be a sniper map. You know, I'm turning back the clock a little bit and going, all right, well, if that's what happens when we play snipers, let's see what happens when we, try to force SSG into that. Coach Kresnik and the boys select Khan first and foremost.
It makes sense for him to come through. I wouldn't be surprised if Ash gets locked in here, period. But Ash Barrack is what the second team has been going pretty much every single time. Ash Eevee earlier. So Kanga don't mind flexing onto a DPS here if they want to. No Genos ban, and he wasn't even picked up in the last game. Or no, he was, but he didn't really have the impact I think that people were thinking. And so I feel like his priority, especially with some of the unbans that have come through and like I guess the way things have shifted between these two teams, I don't know if I expect to see him as often.
Well, Bomb King certainly going to make an impact here. DPS selected for Kanga in the early stages, so Barrack's going to go the other way to SSG. So why do we see Bomb King, as you said, Ash Barrack? Why do we see Bomb King here instead?
Honestly, I think it's just when you ban out Eevee, and this is the big thing, you are, as SSG, kind of hurting yourselves. Like, it's a shot in the foot because, yes, you're taking it away from Evil Eye. You're banning it specifically because you know I'm going to get an off-tank, but if I let this through, they're going to grab Ash Eevee. Evil Eye is going to be deadly, so we need to make him uncomfortable. We need to let him not get a pick. But then you lower the champion pool for blasters down by 1. And then all of a sudden they pick Bomb King. Evil Eye's, I would say, arguably like the second one he would want to go to. And personally in meta, the second choice you would have for that. And he's perfectly fine being able to pick that up. And the only other things that you could look at, like Pip, Drogos, are still here. But like this is honestly kind of hurting Freeze God more than anything.
Yeah.
And setting up Evil Eye for success.
That's what happened in last game. Now, of course, it was the sniper focus for sure, but Freeze wasn't able to play one of his more rambunctious choices, kind of forced into that sniper selection because of some of the bans. And so with a lot of thought going into this one, Barrack will be selected, and it looks like the Maeve will be the follow-up here for the Brazilian squad. And it will be Maeve locked in here.
I think the discussion, and like part of the reason that took so long wasn't necessarily do we want Maeve, do we not want Maeve? And it wasn't do we want Barrack, do we not want Barrack? It was do we want to grab Barrack Genos or Barrack something else? Like we are going to get this front line because he is just so good right now. We want Genos. Like this is a lineup that does really well with Genos, but they've been doing really well with Maldamba. Do we want to try to take Maldamba away? Like it's that juggle of what do we grab so they don't get it? And it like because of that, you have to sit there and second guess almost every single champion you're coming to, especially when you're down 2-0. SSG grab Maeve there, I think partially as a flex because Freeze God can play it so well.
Gara had a fantastic job in game number 1.
Do not rest.
You're excited.
I've said unbanned a lot of times, but I keep forgetting who was banned and why we weren't seeing them. This is a solid map for Grover, and so many teams like had success with Grover in the first couple of weeks because they had been practicing him for a while, that I'm happy to see him back. He's a good tree.
Grover's my boy.
He's the one true crossover, other than you here.
Other than me. And you, technically.
Yeah, I guess technically.
Once upon a time.
I've been here for a year now. I feel like I have to call it home. Over a year.
home.
Time flies.
Time moves in a circle. SSG here, Khan, Barak, and Maeve as part of their composition so far. I like the switch over to Genos. I think that's a nicer look. Still going to go with the Tyra, deciding if they're going to lock in, and they will. And so a little bit more. I like this draft better for SSG specifically, I think, than what we saw last time.
I think this is going to kind of push them to the limit of how much they've been practicing, specifically against Grover. The one thing Kanga has going against them is that Grover, because of the way he heals, because it's all AoE, you have to kind of stand near him to get it. So they fight under the bleachers. They fight over near the drill. They are in a very specific spot to fight in this map. But then you can also flex around. Like, Bomb King can kind of keep himself safe. He has some cards in his loadout that's, when I explode this bomb, I get some healing. When I can get out of combat, I can get healed. Same thing for Victor. And so the Tyra Genos is, we're going to boost Maeve up so she deals a lot of damage, and we're just going to try to burn through this Inara and Ashe faster than Grover can heal them.
Well, Grover certainly rearing his beautiful head here. I said I like this draft for SSG better for them specifically, and I do. I think this is going to enable their strengths a little bit better than we saw in game number 2. Still think Kanga's got the better draft here on the two of them.
The thing, and what's interesting about it is that I don't think I've seen, like, Victor's come through once every now and then, and the question of what talent he's going to run is really kind of the big one. Like, if he wants to go Grenadier, you can. If you want to go Burst Mode, you can. If you want to go the new buffed Cardio, you can. Like, and I actually wouldn't be surprised for that, just because he needs a way to heal himself if Grover's going to be a little too far away.
We'll see if the tree can stand up or if he'll just leave. Take it away.
Excited to get a little glimpse at Splitstone Quarry, as well as Grover coming back in this one. I know that you're a fan of Grover on this map, though, Nick. Depending on where you're fighting, as long as you're hanging around in that big old ring of healing, your whole team's going to benefit.
Definitely, and Grover's a pick that goes way back with the Kanga Esports legacy. They were one of the first teams to bring this bad boy out competitively. Got a pentakill at the World's Invitational Tournament. I mean, it was an incredible explosion onto the scene for Kanga Esports. Very, very excited to see what Gara's able to do with it. A guy that has seen this character go through just about every iteration that it has ever had. Even so far as to say, way back in the day, he used to be a melee brawler.
And
that was
nowadays,
a hell of a time to be alive.
Nowadays,
let me tell you.
Who was it? Somebody was showing me like an OG clip of Grover just spinning around and finding it was Bird. He had like a huge quadra kill on the Grover. Definitely funny times to see. You can see that Kanga are electing to fight sort of in this bleachery section, and as long as everyone's around that Grover, they're going to stay juiced up. Evil Eye nearly falling there, but instead gets the healing through, and they trade back 1-for-1. Ares, Evil Eye, though, on the Bomb King. Last game, it was Chronix to start off this one. It's the Bomb King. Spacestation found an early 21%, but 36% already for Kanga after a couple quick kills.
So much healing, good damage as well. You can see, look at this ultimate charge from Gara. He's already up north of 54%. He's going to have Whirlwind available if this fight drags on much longer.
Nearly getting taken out there is Joel's. Good of him to find his way back behind that pillar, sacrificing just a little bit of point presence in order for some healing. Nearly gets the healing through onto Chronix, but FreezeGod has found an interesting angle here where he's dancing right up behind Kanga, and the pinch is now coming through. He hears the rest of his team is going to get in there. Ares, Sadak, both with one, make it 2 now. Going for the easy way out on the fidget spinners there. Spacestation Gaming with the clean sweep here. 75% now for them. They could capture point number 1 here on Splitstone Quarry. The only 2 kills in this one on Kanga's side going over to Evil Eye.
Part of the struggle is, you have to position close to Grover. So when you're playing Victor, you don't necessarily always want to be close to Grover.
Yeah.
You want to be maybe up on this upper deck shooting down the fish in the barrel. The Midnight is hit here, and Chronix again will be the target of Space Station's ire.
He walks right back into Rochelle, and FreezeGod just in the waiting arms for him there. It's the only kill so far in this one, but Gara's so low. The pinch yet again coming through. That's a good way to answer back there for Joel's. Dropping down from the high ground goes Rochelle, blasted right over the wall there by the Poppy Bomb, but getting very aggressive now as FreezeGod is the damage there. Oh, he lives with about 100 health, and Rochelle finds Evil Eye and Rhino, so they fight their way back to the payload. Joel's doing a good job here. He knows he's going to fall, but he's just delaying that payload moving forward, and the Midnight really threw a wrench in the mix there for Kanga.
It's not something I normally bring up because, who am I to throw stones on this, but missing a decent amount of daggers there as he kind of rotates in, and that's why it gets scary. He almost dies there after just failing to shoot 2 people in the back of the head. That's something that you have to comment on for FRZ God, who's normally so on point. His aim is so precise, and it's got to be on Maeve. Maeve is really, really limited by only her ability to hit auto attacks. Everything else is fairly straightforward with that kit.
Well, things getting very dangerous here, actually, for Kanga. Spacestation just a couple kills away from this one going through. The Dome Shield's going to buy some time, as well as some damage mitigation, but the kills are all coming up blue, and it looks like this one's going to go in, and it does. So that's a 2-0 now for Spacestation, especially on Splitstone Quarry. 3 minutes in, already up 2-0. I think Spacestation really needed this one with maps 1 and 2 going the way they did. Answering back like this shows that they're here to fight.
And that's definitely kind of a lump to take for Kanga Esports. You don't want to get down on items if you can help it, especially when you're forced to kind of group up and play so defensively here. Now, they played pretty passively overall, and it was working well for them at the onset, but Chronix gets picked, and they lose a lot of their damage potential, and then you can see one by one, they all fall down, and Kanga Esports is not really able to get themselves back in it. And Grover's healing is good. He does a lot of it, but it's in a wide area of effect. He's not able to really lifeline somebody like the Inara or even that low HP Victor back to full HP. He gives you what he's got, and then that's pretty much it.
Nearly getting clipped by that. The damage chart is pretty telling in this one as well. Inara top damage for Kanga. Spacestation 4 streaks. Right now they will have the fast cap, Kanga will. So if they're able to win a fight, this will quickly go in their favor. But look at all this chunk damage coming out from up top. They're rotating quickly, but they take too much damage on their way through right now. Chronix falls, does not really have a chance to make an impact in this fight, and Spacestation Gaming, they answer back in a really, really big way here. Another one onto Evil Eye, another one onto Gera. This is a clean sweep yet again. Spacestation Gaming are well poised to take point number 3.
So part of it is taking the risk in the draft here, picking up this Grover. When you pick Grover on Splitstone Quarry, it really does telegraph your style and what you're looking to do, but specifically where you're looking to play from. Spacestation Gaming just draft the bare bones amount of mobility and really just get that full surround both times now. You've seen it round 1 and round 2. They surround everywhere that Kanga is not on this map and just choke them out from all these different angles.
It's an interesting point I remember you brought up talking about Chronix in that, like, you really need to fight around Grover to get the max amount of his kit. Are you surprised seeing him go burst mode instead of something like cardio with the new buff if he's not going to be playing around as Grover maybe as much as he would like to?
I mean, burst mode is good because it gives you that ability to fight at range, but you're right, he's not really fighting at range. He's really kind of getting up and staying up in the mix with Kanga Esports. I would have liked to have seen, I don't know, maybe even a Cassie. Midtown finds a double. That was something that I don't normally say you have to hit time and spaces, but the way this composition is set up for Kanga Esports, they're going to be so clumped. I was like, Midtown needs to get a couple of big ones.
Well, as fast as Frog Isle came and went, Splitstone Quarry is at the risk of coming and going at the same exact rate. 6.5 minutes, Splitstone Quarry game. 3-0 here for Spacestation. They're pushing through. Dome Shield, Midnight, both ready to go. Defending with a King Bomb and a barrage now. Our Kanga, damage, top 4 still in favor of Spacestation. Not much has changed here. Evil Eye having a tough game so far up on the Bomb King.
Damaging Bomb King, no.
You hate to see it.
That is rough stuff here. Kanga, this draft is just not getting it done for them. There's really, really a lot of struggles. One thing I would like to see them try, if they can survive this round, is, yes, you can still group up under the bleachers, but as Spacestation split up to get that full surround, you have the potential to push hard in one direction as 5 and try and take like that quick 5v2, 5v3, whatever it is, and shut it all down when you have the man advantage.
Well, what we've learned, I think, in the first couple of games of this one, it's both of these teams are going to play aggressive and not let too much go through. Ultimate's starting to fly. The Whirlwind is going to be great for Kanga, but there's not too much damage returning onto Spacestation. That's when you need to go. Evil Eye and Chronix, though, each adding 1, but Ares and Sadak add 1 as well. Remember, Kanga are in the respawn range right here, so needing to stay alive is Ares. He's unable to do so. Rhino just holding down this point. The assert dominance getting a lot of value for him, but still, Sadak and Freeze God are dancing around this payload. Still 10 seconds left. They'll be able to get a touch and go at it again. Only the barrage now to defend with. They're going to have the Dome Shield on the side of Spacestation if they want to get this one pushed in. Crossfire will be up very, very soon as well, so this could be it if Spacestation are able to find some kills.
There it is in the back line here. Dome Shield counters, Dome Shield is countered by Barrage. It goes right through, so Chronix will be able to get a good amount of damage out.
Yeah, but instead the Crossfire opens up the killing here. Ares Sadak each with 1 now, but the kills are going back and forth. All the off-tanks are doing it right now. Sadak has a couple. This could go in for Space Station if they're able to wrap up the rest of this team fight here, but he lives. Chronix does, but it's not enough for Kanga Space Station. They take it 4-0 on Splitstone Quarry, especially after going down 4-0 on Frog Isle. That's an important game to win here. Not going to be a 4-0 sweep this time for Kanga. Big answer back there from Space Station. And a deep breath.
These coaches,
I know, I love it.
They're so funny through the window. They gave us their little summary of how the game went on their faces as they passed by the casting booth. The famous Midtown smile is cracked for the first time here today. Space Station Gaming stay alive, and I think more of this is really talking about the risks being taken by Space Station and by Kanga now. The risk with the Terminus and the risk with the Grover not necessarily paying off.
Well, just as clean as Kanga looked game number 2, Space Station looked just as clean here in game number 3. Let's send it back to Tom and Gore on the desk.
Space Station Gaming answered back, and that's exactly the way they need to. Not a little kind of like baby footing around, no nonsense, just 4-0, baby, and then right back in it, 2-1.
And that's what you want to see at this point in the set, right? Like, when you're down 2-0 and you win a 4-3, especially when it's like, okay, that took us 20 minutes to get there, it was very close at the end, like, that's not convincing. A 4-0 is the punchback that you need to be able to be like, okay, cool, we can still win this. We just have to get not only our drafts right, which they did here, but we have to understand Kanga, and I think that's something they kind of figured out coming into this map.
Exactly, and here this was the players for Space Station Gaming that you need to stand up did so this time around. You see the damage at FRZ God, you see Sadak standing up as well. 10 kills for the con player, so I think that was a really big deal for Space Station. This team, inconsistent, right? They're 4-4, and I think when they do find their victories, it's when those players are standing up really, really tall.
Yeah.
And so Space Station really, really crushed this one.
And you also had to look, and this is for me, but like the overarching story for Space Station these next 2 days is that they're playing 4 sets.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if this one doesn't go their way, if Kanga keep kind of tearing through them the way they do, how do they perform against Envy? How do they come into tomorrow if they lose both today? Like, these kinds of things are going to affect them all day. And so getting this kind of moment, first off, it's almost unfortunate that they have to play Kanga and Envy in one day because you're almost forced to show your hand where all your strengths are so early just to try and stay into it.
And this is a team that wins off of momentum. They're a momentum-based team when you look at these best of 7s. And guess what? You know, this isn't compartmentalization 101. These guys don't work for the CIA. That second game that they play later, the momentum will have a little bit of hangover.
Yeah.
So if SSG, when are looking towards Envy later on, they really have to come out of this one at least with some level of confidence. And I think this one win, even if the rest go to Kanga, this one win is the type of game that Space Station need to sort of get their mind in the right spot.
I didn't even notice that quadra kill at the end. Like, I saw Sadak tearing through people. I didn't realize he teared through 4 different people and got all of the kills coming through. And again, I think that's where a lot of this fight is almost determined. Like, Chronix is really good. Evil Eye's really good. Chronix you can always count to be there.
Yeah.
Evil Eye, I mean, Nick called it out at one point, was doing less damage on Bomb King that game than Mitau was doing on Genos. Freeze God, always going to be consistent. Ares is kind of the one that we look at as whether or not he's going to be there per game. And so this is one where it's like, cool, you have 2 DPS that match up, 2 DPS you don't know about, and then it comes to the front lines. Who's going to perform? Are you going to see someone from Kanga step up? Or are you going to see someone like Richao or Sadak step up? And that time, Sadak stepped up to the plate and was just hitting him out of the park.
That's the job. You're going to select Khan first and foremost. You better be playing like that. So fantastic stuff out of SSG. As you mentioned, they won 4-0, which is a really big deal for a team like Space Station. So hopefully they can carry it over because I'm always rooting for the 7. And I think that this is the way to get there.
I mean, a lot of the sets today in general are games that they could be 4-0s depending on how teams play. They could be 7-game sets depending on how teams play because every single one of these teams has showcased their capabilities. But it is very much how consistent can you be every single game. SSG has been a little shakier. And usually when you go down 2-0, it's not the end of the world for you. But winning the third map, if you can, and losing this one, going down to 3-1, even if you win map number 5, like that's how you get to 6 games. It's like, cool, we won 3 and 5. That's all we got out of this set.
Right.
1, 2, 4, and 6, we just lost.
Game number 3 goes to way of Space Station. Game number 4, we wind up on Warder's Gate. This is absolutely Kanga's stomping ground. So A little bit of a scary situation for SSG. Standard bans as they take care of Torvald, Makoa. That's what we expect. Spacestation also likely to ban that Eevee that they've been looking at the entire set so far. I wouldn't expect it to be anything different. You just can't give it to Evil Eye. You really just can't.
Well, the big thing for me that immediately strikes my eyes is just where these teams are on the screen. Kanga, this is their pick. It's loser's pick for this portion. So they get to choose the map. They get to choose where they pick. And they chose to go second, which means I think they recognize how important it is, especially if they play with this band a little bit. They can, take away the Eevee. We can ban something that's going to be strong for you.
Right.
We could ban a Cassie. We could ban a Leon. We could ban something to kind of hurt SSG. And then if you grab Khan, we get Atlas plus somebody. If you get Atlas, we get Khan plus somebody.
The Atlas ban comes here from Kanga, so Spacestation one more time. First pick the Khan. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let Sadak do what he just did and party till the sun comes up. I absolutely like the game plan here from SSG. Hopefully it works out for them. Kanga, on the other side, option in their court.
Well, 4 games in a row, Ashe has been picked here, so wouldn't be too surprised if Ashe comes through again and again. Or I guess 3 games in a row. This would make it 4. And I like the flex here for the Mave, because this is the one thing about Evil Eye. Evil Eye is a great blaster player.
Yep.
Evil Eye has been showing up on Eevee. Evil Eye has been showing up on Mave lately. His Bomb King, I don't even know if we've seen a pip from him, have been a little, kind of left wanting for more. Same thing with the Drogos, where it's like, you have played these excellently in the past,
sure,
but right now they aren't there, and I feel like you can see Kanga prioritizing Mave because of that.
Exactly. The champ pool a little bit smaller, and so just prioritize.
Just grab what you need immediately.
No reason not to. Especially when, because that's the thing, and I think it's fair to criticize players with smaller champion pools, but when you've got maybe 2 or 3 that you're just going to top perform on, I'm a little bit more willing to accept that. So Kanga over here, Evil Eye, you're good, bud. Mave will work out there. Spacestation respond. A Barrack and a Tyra.
What's crazy to me is how polarizing some performances can be. Like, Evil Eye will have a game on Mave where he goes... I think I said this earlier about Pan, where it's like sometimes, man, he's gone 27-3. And then sometimes he does less damage than a Genos that is on the other team. Like, those kinds of things will be, I think, very important. Of course, I think damage numbers overall on that map will be skewed because of the Tyra-Genos combo. But, Khan, Tyra, Barrack, 3 of the things that were making them successful last map are here. Mave has been taken away, but... I think the root of it, Mave is solid for that. I think the Genos-Tyra combo would pretty much enable any DPS to make that kind of impact.
That's why we see Kanga thinking about the Genos here, and I have to agree. I think the damage amplification, just too much.
It's strong.
Too much on the side of SSG.
Step
Certainly
into the light.
angering the Kangaroo. See how angry that Kangaroo is there?
It's a very angry Kangaroo. He's ready to fight.
He's ready to box, more specific.
He's going for it.
They're
just strong because they have really good legs.
Yes, they're always depicted as boxers, yet the legs are really what do you in. Not that I've ever fought a kangaroo.
But if you ever did,
yeah,
you'd be scared. Well, I'd be scared of all of it. But kangaroos are jacked. Those guys are
big.
Muscular.
Yes.
They're scary creatures.
I've seen Kangaroo Jack. You remember that, right?
I remember. Those are that was an interesting series of movies that came out.
Oh man.
And they only could have in that time. I don't think you could re-release Kangaroo Jack now and have it do well. And I don't think it could have come out earlier and done well. It had to be where it was.
Ain't that the truth? Production, on the other hand, are going to disagree. Here, SSG trying to agree on what to select. One of my favorite characters being hovered over here, and the Cassie. I would love to see.
Be humble.
All right, there we go. I would love to see the Furia locked in here. I think it's a really nice look against what Kanga's bringing.
I actually like everything SSG have drafted.
Yeah.
I think it gives them what they need. Tyra, again, burning down an R, burning down an Ashe. And specifically, Tyra being able to throw her marks onto front lines that aren't going to be getting that much healing. Inara is a healing sponge, but when it's Genos behind her, it's just not as much, and that's why it kind of feels awkward. And there was a lot of hesitation from Kanga to lock that in, because it's just do we really want this combo? We don't want them to have Genos, but do we really want to take Genos and Inara?
Exactly.
Because it's just not the combo.
It looks like, so Kanga going for a very high execution composition here. This is just going to be difficult to play. And Vivian is going to, kind of bring that down a little bit, right? Because you've got the Maeve, the Ashe, the Genos, the Inara. There's not a lot of wiggle room. You've really, really got to execute exactly how you're supposed to be planning.
And Vivian is like such a fun champion because we've seen her enough that she's not like, oh my god, it's Vivian. But like she's still in that area where it's like, okay, well, these two guys have done her really well, and these players have not been able to bring her in at the same level. So I think this is going to be the biggest question is where she's going to fit. She's going to burn down Con Shield, burn down Barrack Shield pretty fast, but I think it's dealing with Furia. Like where is she going to fit in for this comp for me?
Kanga's up 2. We'll see if Space Station can tie it up. Casters, over to you.
Appreciate it, fellas, and going the Vivian this time around. And one thing that stands out to me, I always love the 2-1 games because it's such a set differentiator. 3-1 is a whole lot different from 2-2 in this one. But Warder's Gate, that Kanga love to go to this map, and they're going to feel comfortable here.
Took their time with that last pick. There's one thing that I'm a little bit wary of that I haven't really seen yet is the Tyra and the Furia combined together. That is a ton of damage amp if you can align the stars. And I think Space Station Gaming are good enough to do it. That is a very, very tough team fight to win the hunting party as well as the Enflame line up. I like the Vivian to be able to just blast through this double shielding composition that SSG have drafted. Freeze God on the Cassie. This is a little bit what I was talking about earlier on Frog Isle. I was very, very kind of like, why is Freeze God not playing Cassie? Why is he sniping this time? It was weird to me.
Yeah, the early wrecker coming through for Vivian, I really do enjoy it, especially when you have Khan and Barrack over on the opposite side. Looks like they're going to elect just to put Jules on this point on the Inara and fight the rest of the team fight from it. And this gets dangerous if you're Space Station. If you're not able to answer back, which they do, it's going to be likely Rashao and Jules kind of bouncing back and forth right now. Freeze God getting back onto his Cassie here in this case. We didn't get to see it in game number 2, I should say, on Frog Isle. He was, of course, playing the sniper in this case. And this shows you the power of just one wrecker on the Vivian. Blast through that Con Shield almost immediately.
Wrecker 1. Kanga Esports with a small marginal lead on the objective. Chronix comes around this corner pre-firing, trying to get wound up, but it's him versus Tyra here. Lady with a gun versus a lady with a gun. Full commit here from Khan. They might get punished by Sadak. Chronix rotates down, but he will fall.
And what a good pinch there from Space Station Gaming. They see Kanga going in. They smell blood in the water, but Space Station, they smell a little bit more. They wrap around either side. A double kill for the Furia. And Space Station Gaming find themselves on the point here. Some good dismounts. This will likely go over to them. Kanga traditionally very quick, very fast starting on Warder's Gate. Not as fast a start as they had hoped for there. They got a little too over-aggressive, I think, on some low targets down beneath. Space Station were able to capitalize.
It's really just that. They weren't really panning out on their picks that they committed to. And Midtow, honestly, getting those last couple of killing blows on Furia. Here comes the Enflame. We talked about this being very difficult to fight into. Good thing Kanga opened with a pick, and I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe you could have dashed into the lifting stone or whatever it may have been. A funny interaction, to say the least. The initial Enflame kills actually didn't come through. Instead, it's the butt end of the fight where Space Station find their big advantage here. So Kanga back to base. Halfway there is the payload, but inching ever closer. Kind of a long walk back here, so I'd imagine this payload gets nice and good almost around this corner here. Didn't really expend way too much that time, did Kanga. The assert dominance, midnight, seismic crash, sentinels will be up as well, but wow, so many kills coming through for Space Station 2. Notably, if you consider that so many, but it could be enough to get this one pushed in.
This is really highlighting the weaknesses of Genos. Genos is not a healer that can get you back into a fight. You need to get that on a good foot, and you need to stay ahead the entire time. He does not have the throughput to bring the Inara back to full HP. Freeze God is not even running big game, and you can see noticeably that Inara is still struggling, not getting enough healing through to this character. And that's fine. That's not Jules' fault. That's not what this draft is set up to do. This draft is set up to give the damage amp to Evil Eye, Rhino, and Chronix and have them carry the game.
And Ares, or excuse me, Freeze God on the Cassie, 31k damage, next high is 17k, so arguably, I mean, almost double of what anyone else in the game is doing. Really taking this one, I mean, he's 205, not the most, lights up in the sky slash line there, but he's really taken this one over. The rest of the team has benefited. Sadak, fresh off a very, very good game on Splitstone Quarry on his con last time around. Kanga, and you see that right there, Nick. What you talked about, Joel's not really getting as much healing. I mean, they elect to fight from the point, but he can't stay there very long before he has to get off and try to get some Genos healing through. He's able to make his way back through. Evil Eye with the double on the Maeve this time is going to open the doors for Kanga to get back onto it. They will have fast cap right now as well. So a good zone could net them point number 1.
And this is where Genos is good. They are ahead in this fight. Everyone is healthy. Marks applied, meaning that they're going to have really good opportunities to just skirmish, especially with comeback mechanic. This is almost a beautiful wall.
Wow.
Allows the pick on the Sadak. He's completely separated.
Beautiful, beautiful wall there from Joel, just leaving him separated from the rest of the team. Evil Eye dashing around. He opened up this fight with a double kill. Finds another one here. Guerra adds one with a through time and space, but they're fighting back so well right now on Space Station Gaming. You got to clean up Freeze God, which they do. This will be point number 1 for Kanga after a well-calculated team fight.
That was like 6 or 7 kills actively displayed on screen. A very, very bloody finish to that point fight. But Kanga Esports will come away with it. Space Station Gaming used a lot there to try and flip that one back on its head, but Kanga Esports had a resource to respond to everything SSG threw at them.
Here's the Inflame. They're going to throw that one at the wall next, and that's going to be a go button now for Space Station Gaming to get aggressive. Joel's falls first, but Chronix is able to answer back. Freeze God with some beautiful shots on the Cassie. Nets him a couple. He nearly is able to hit the shot midair onto Chronix. Rochal's going to do the dirty work, finish that one up. 1 minute and 50 seconds left. Space Station find a great first defensive stand here. It can apply a pretty deep zone onto Kanga.
And I mean, Kanga have Inara and they have Ashe, 2 of the highest effective health frontliners in the game. And despite all that, still going for the blast shot impulse Cassie. So I like what I'm seeing from Freeze. I'm like, Cassie, it's always good to have a character just have multiple choices. Mutu really pioneered this and brought this back into the meta, showing some of the strengths that it can have, and especially in a Genos composition, where you're looking at, these flanks are going to be coming around with that extra healing, with that extra damage. I need everything I can to blow up these squishier targets faster. I like the selection.
And while it is a 1-for-1 trade to start off, now make it 2-for-1. Finding the early pick onto Guerra really stalled out this push. Chronix is able to hang back and stay alive right now. Space Station are setting up a good defense. They have Scout and Overpower, soon to have Crossfire as well. Kanga will have some utility in the Assert Dominance, Midnight, and the Sentinels. Here they come for Vivian. Of course, you just pop those as soon as you can because you can continue charging your ultimate while your Sentinels are available. So as soon as one set dies, you can maybe even be ready to throw out another. Already one of the Sentinels goes down, so still lots of extra damage. Oh no, it was off the screen. So still 2 Sentinels here for Chronix. And this is where he'll flex his muscles. Melts through that Barrack Shield in this case, melting through the health bar with the help of Evil Eye onto Freeze God here. 25 seconds left. The payload still has a good bit of distance to go though.
Eats the Pyre Strike as he comes around the corner. A little bit of that pre-fire action might be able to box this one out. No, sir. Both front lines are missing. She collapsed, but they spend a lot and really kind of dive on him to get that kill.
Yeah, and look at this. They're trapped now in the back line. Sadak tries to come to the aid, but Joel's instead on the Inara. Good knockback there. Gets Rhino off the map just as the shoulder bash was going to come through.
What a beast.
Not finishing off his shots here yet are Joel's. Chronix is going to see to it that Freeze God goes back, but those are 2 important trades. He trades out his life, but he takes 2 down with him. If this was a 5-strong Kanga pushing into the base of Space Station, it could have gotten dirty. They have 5 ultimates to fight back. 4 ultimates on the side of Kanga, though.
That's a 2v1, or he gets that 2-for-1 in a 1v4 situation. That is Freeze God right there. That is the playmaking ability that has built this man's reputation to what it is right now. But everyone from Kanga back, ready for action. Almost all 10 ultimates in the game available, and that's 2 openers.
Rhino with a double here. If it's not one, it's the other, and in this case, it's Rhino. Evil Eye answers back with the help of Matau and Sadak on the opposite side. They don't use any of their ultimates here. No team trying to use anything. I think Space Station know this one's going to go in, and it does. So now we're going into 2-2 point fight. No fast cap for either team. Only the the Sentinels down for Kanga. Other than that, all 9 ultimates back up in this game. Kanga, though, they look like they've made some good adjustments going into the mid-fight.
Certainly, there's a lot to sort of be looked at here when ultimates are in play. That's one of the cool things about the game is that you do see a drastic change in the structure of the team fight from rounds 1 to 2, and you're definitely going to see that highlighted here with everything up and available. There's so much damage to come out from Kanga, but there's so much damage on the side of Space Station Gaming as well. Inflame, Hunting Party, and then Freeze God just having the burst ability. But you can see Chronix does a really good job closing the gap in that last round.
You know, Nick, this is exactly how Warder's Gate, I feel like, goes for Kanga, where they'll get blown out of the water for points 1 and 2, make their adjustments, and then end up fighting back. This one's still very much up in the air for me. Space Station have made huge improvements after going down 2-0. But I think that this mid-fight could decide who ends up winning this one. The Inflame is going to start things off great now for Space Station, combining it with the Crossfire, but they don't net any kills right now. Instead, it's going to be Sadak who gets collapsed on in the backline. Defensive Dome Shield from Rochelle, and they just melt right through it. Sadak answers back, but all 3 kills now for Kanga, only 2 on the backside. Evil Eye needs to get out of this one or win the 1v1, and it's Joel's who's coming up huge on the Inara right now, believe it or not. They're fighting from the point, 51%, 24% over on the side of Space Station.
I mean, they do get that kill on the Rhino there, but what a perfect start for Kanga. The Inflame comes out. It's quieted down by midnight. The Dome Shield gets dropped from a shoulder bash kill. I mean, that's beautiful, beautiful counter engage from Kanga Esports, but completely out of resources. 78% to 45 and climbing. SSG are back in control.
Yeah, the retake was huge from Space Station. They technically lose that first mid-fight, but take out just enough from Kanga that when the respawns finally came through, they're able to get back on the point. They're just now surpassing the Kanga percentage with 87%, so now Kanga need to be the ones to get in and retake. Gara finding 1 is going to really help that cause. Sadak for Joel's is the initial trade, but Rhino goes down as well. Now Kanga have no front line. They have no flank. Chronix is the only one left alive to do any damage. Gara's not going to matter much in this fight. And Space Station Gaming retake and then win the ensuing fight to capture their 3rd point.
It's not something that you can really directly point to on any stat sheet and say this is really hurting Kanga at the moment, but I think Freeze God has done a good job keeping a lid on Evil Eye. Every time it feels like Evil Eye pokes his head out, he eats the shot blast shot combo and takes about 60 to set right there. He takes 75% of his health and just has to run away. It's been a really big struggle for this Mave, countered out heavily by Impulse Cast.
Have they banned or picked Eevee every single game, Space Station?
I think so, yeah. It's been banned. Space Station banned it.
It's either been Bomb King or Mave for Evil Eye, and that's a huge boon, I think. To not that he's a player and that he can a good player and that he can play any of these flanks and blasters to a high level, but Eevee is such a huge difference maker. So well played there from Space Station, trying to make him uncomfortable. Clean 4 sweep here. They trade out only Mitau, their healer. Payload luckily not that far forward, otherwise that would have gone through. Kanga might have to burn some utility here to tie things up, not put Space Station really in the driver's seat. They realize, all right, we can go into this final fight now with Overpower and Inflame maybe coming back up in time. Kanga are really in an awkward spot, determining, all right, how much we have to burn some. Oh, just misses out, nearly trades out his life. Freeze God sniffs that one out and finds the shots while he's rooted in place on that one and gets out with his life.
I mean, Freeze God is doing so much. Big blast combo up to the high ground as well, helping to take down Rhino, takes down Joel's. It's all Freeze God all the time. Blast shot around the corners, good for 2, and SSG tie it up.
No 3-1 for Kanga. Space Station Gaming go down 2-0, fight back 2-2. We're down to a best of 3 in this one. Both teams needing to win 2 more. What a fight back from Space Station Gaming. The early 2 games were very dangerous looking from the side of Kanga, but looking so much better over these last 2 are Space Station.
Part of that is just a good draft. Obviously, each draft had their win conditions, had their moments, but that game was really defined by play and player execution.
Absolutely.
I thought Freeze God they did a good job forcing Kanga onto that luminary flanker win condition style, and then they gave the Impulse Cassie to Freeze God and say, go to work.
We talk about individual pop-off, and that was Freeze God's pop-off moment, I think, in that one. I mean, really wrapping up with a nice, neat little bow, that final team fight, a triple kill from the Cassie, looking essentially flawless in this one. So now we're down to a best of 3, and remember, Kanga really like Warder's Gate, so the fact that they don't win there, I mean, that's another card that's out of their deck here. It's 2-2. Best of 3 is what we got here in set number 1. Let's send it back to F. and Gore.
FRGG got. I mean, that's why they pay him. This guy coming through, and you heard Dolson. Just that's what happens for FRG God. Stands up and smacks him down.
And that's, I think, the thing that SSG, again, that they've relied on. That's part of the thing that's made them such a successful team. Ares has come in and done well, but like what we were saying, even I think last week, 2 weeks ago about Ares is just he just has to play. He just has to be there. He has to be average. He doesn't have to go negative. He doesn't have to go positive. He just has to be in the game and not lose, I guess.
Role player, the perfect role player. He'll just needs to be consistent. But with that said, you got to complement consistency with somebody that can absolutely explode. 110,000 player damages. Absolutely exploding. 14, 4, and 15 there on the slash line here for the Cassie player. And the Impulse Cassie certainly stood up and put him down.
And that's the biggest thing. This kind of composition was, let's go ahead and grab a Cassie. Going to play her a little different than what we have played in the past, and we're going to kind of match it up with Ares so that the Hunter's Mark still gives her the impact against front lines that we want. But now you can kind of play it around, and as they were saying, this successful on this map against Kanga, who love this map, is very impressive. And, I mean, this guy's aim is just on point.
And that's one of the bigger deals. I'm glad that you mentioned on this map specifically, because this is Kanga's show. And when you're looking at map-based games like Paladins, you really kind of lean on, well, this is going to be our free win. You expect it to be 3-1. You expect that if you're playing for Kanga or on their side of the battlefield. And so looking at the result here, this is a really big blow to Kanga specifically, and a great upswing for SSG.
And, one of the things Dave was saying coming into that set was actually, I love 2-1s because you end up in one of two places. A 2-2 means anybody's set. A 3-1 is perilous. Like, you're looking up at a mountain and you're like, how do we go through this? And so coming into this, even like they said, even at the end, it's a best of 3. It's just who can win 2 first.
Sure.
Kanga can maintain like map control where they're going, but the pool for maps has drastically shrunk now. And I think, we were talking about this earlier, but there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 maps that are still available. So any 2 of those at this point that I would say aren't good for SSG are maps like Timber Mill. Maybe you're going to see Frozen Guard, but you're really starting to pick down there and just hope they don't know what they're doing.
Of course, Bazaar recently added to the mix as well. We might be able to get a chance to see the brand new map, so we'll see how it works out. Extended break in between games 4 and 5. And SSG in great spirits after that one. Chronix looking a little bit more focused. Coach Kresnik just laughing his way to the bank here. And if I'm Spacestation, that is absolutely how I'm feeling. This is an interesting matchup because obviously it's 2 middle-of-the-pack teams. So you're not looking up at a Goliath. You're not looking down at a David. But this is absolutely one of those important matchups in the sense that, who's the best of the middle? You want to be above your peers, so to speak. Space Station Gaming, Kanga becoming the new Na'Vi, maybe that's a stretch, but them becoming the top of their own sort of competition pool, I think that's absolutely what these guys are looking for, and Space Station trudging forward.
And my favorite thing so far about this team is that they are very realistic. Like, every single one of them is kind of under those expectations of, like, we did really well at a couple lands last year, so everyone, like, has high expectations for us, but they're like, you know what? We're just going to keep playing. Like, we're going to do whatever we have to do. Like, we're going to continue to strive for excellence. But if we lose a set, especially against, like, again, 8 of these teams, which that's the entire league, have proven themselves to be incredibly good. If you lose to the Knights or Renegades right now, that's probably where things are shaky. But, like, when you're looking at, like, okay, well, technically SSG's 4-4, Kanga's 4-6 coming into this, but a lot of those, like, if you erase the first half of this split, and honestly, if we erase stats going into the next split, I think we would be in a very interesting dynamic for this team, because, like, I think the top 6 are at a point, maybe pull NIP away a little more, but
probably so.
At least 5 teams that could very easily be taking games off each other constantly.
Got to agree there. And, Space Station, anytime you look at a team like Space Station who had such an interesting jump, right? Not coming in week number 1, waiting until week 4 or 5 there to really get involved, it just becomes a more pressurized situation. And here SSG struggling to kind of find their identity in the whole big world of the PPL at the moment. Matches like this are what solidify it. Shattered Desert going to be the choice here as Kanga and Space Station go head-to-head. And I didn't even realize Bazaar actually on the ban list, so we won't be able to see any Bazaar of this match. Maybe next time.
Well, Kanga, this time around, will be going back to their first pick ways. And, well, hey, if you could probably screen cap this, and it's the exact same 4 bans. Like, there's almost nothing to dive into anymore with it. But I will anyway. Atlas is really good. I really wish he could come through.
That pause there was me searching for a swimming-oriented character. There's no water champion.
Not really. I mean, I guess Makoa's probably the closest because he's a turtle, but that's really it.
Well, turtles are actually reptiles, and they don't.
True.
They don't have gills. Gills are really important to me.
Gills?
Gills.
We don't have a fish.
We should have a fish.
We should. I keep saying, like, Makoa is known as, like, an ancient. I want to know what the other ancients are. Like, I want a fish ancient. I want, like, these bizarre creatures to come
Exactly. Makoa is the offspring of the giant underwater god. He is the son of a fish. Khan, Cassie, Barrick, the three choices here for Kanga. As Spacestation Gaming go with Ashe and Maeve. The strong front line. Ashe has just been very important in this set. More so for Kanga. And again, SSG going the ban by way of pick strategy here. And Maeve has been very, very, very interesting is the word I'm going to use for this match.
And it's honestly because, obviously, Freeze God, FRZ God can play Maeve. And he can play anything else you happen to put him on. He's going to do well. But Evil Eye on Kanga is where things are kind of falling apart, where it's just, okay, we put you on Eevee, you did phenomenally. We put you on Maeve, you did great. Put you on Bomb King, we'll forget about that game. Like, let's see where we're going to go with it. Even last game's Maeve was, like, solid, but I feel like that's kind of where SSG are targeting. They're like, cool, you want Ashe, we're going to take Ashe. You want Maeve, we're going to take Maeve. Like you said, it's the pick to ban. But you kind of give up some good ones for it. Like, Khan, Cassie, Barrick is not a bad lineup by any means.
Not at all. You know, I'm looking at the Barrick and the Cassie, which, I mean, arguably won the game last time around. So losing that one might be problematic, but Tyra is absolutely the choice here to cut down some of what Kanga has chosen. Khan and Barrick, not the tankiest of tanks, and so when Tyra shows up and she provides that boost, that really chews through them.
And the weirdest thing that most teams, like, you almost never end up in a situation like this. SSG have kind of showed their full hand.
Sure.
Like, this is everything we're going for. The only thing left to pick is a tank. And so maybe if we want to pull out Terminus again, that will surprise you. But that's really going to be the only surprise we can pull out. Whereas Kanga still have the opportunity to try and pick some counters. Furia has been phenomenal, especially with the most recent buff, being able to just heal further away. Maps like Shattered Desert, Warder's Gate, Splitstone Quarry, like, they're good for her because it's no longer this limitation for you.
Exactly. She can move around a little bit. I wouldn't mind seeing the Terminus again here. The Terminus was an interesting try. It's what SSG kind of, you know, this is something that they would excel at, looking at how they play and their play style. And it did work the first time around. And bringing it out a second time could be problematic, but this is the game. I talk a lot about the science of the set when I get involved, and you've brought it back to parity here at the 2-2 mark. Inara will be a good shot. I'm not going to say that I don't like that, and frankly, I probably like that a little bit more than the Terminus.
It's one of those things. Terminus has been very strong with a Maldamba behind him, but the only person who was stronger than him for the entire meta that Terminus was kind of reigning was Inara, and so you get the choice of both. You choose one over the other, but I think it's interesting, like, to see and note that both of these teams have been willing to kind of reach further out. Like, we've seen Grover, we've seen Victor, we've seen Terminus. Like, 3 picks that normally don't come through that often. And we're in this meta right now where, like, this is, like, these are the champions more often than not that you're going to see. But you could trade out most of the DPS. Like, the front lines are always going to be the front lines, but DPS can shake up.
Inara, the last selection for SSG. We'll see if it's good enough to take the win. Tied up here at 4, Game 5.
Best of 3, pretty please, as we jump into game number 5. Shattered Desert, set number 1 of the day. One of these teams, they need to win 2 to take the dub here today. Shattered Desert's going to be where we head down to. And I really like seeing Furia kind of come back into the meta the way the supports as well have all shifted. But would you say SSG are coming in with the momentum right now?
Yeah, I mean, they've gotten themselves a couple of great little wins. I think they've gotten a really good draft here. To be honest, both teams have a good draft, just pros and cons sort of situation. Slugshot for Sadok's Ashe is going to be something I want to definitely take note of. This is one of the talents that he has pioneered. Like I said, Mutu really pioneered Impulse Cassie this season. Definitely Slugshot. The credit for that talent being pulled out goes to Sadok.
Well, hopefully this set has woken you up on this beautiful Thursday morning. I know it has for me. 2-2 as we break into the first point fight, and Rhino starting things off very, very quickly here for Kanga Esports. And they're already on the point. Chronix nearly making it away around the side. Unfortunately does not in this case. Gara as well. takes the fast way back to base. Evil Eye trades out, though, onto Rochelle. That's really important here with 36% for Kanga. Spacestation, though, are now on the point, garnering a little objective time for themselves. Ooh, just dancing around his shield there, Sadak. Well played on that 1v1. Rhino, though, comes in to round that one out. But you have Ares to fight through if you want to get back to the point here.
Dives with confidence there, Sadak, one of the best to do it in the off-tank role, and kind of showing us why there. Gets the 2-for-1 trade in the back line here. Very, very even on the objective. 36 for Kanga, 48 for SSG.
You gotta watch out here if you're Kanga. You're very grouped up. Meanwhile, there's kind of some separation going on the Space Station side. If you're able to get a kill like that with Chronix, especially on the Cassie, that can really open the door for you here. And now they can turn their sights onto the points. The healing is good now from Furia. Look at those health bars just immediately replenish. Joel's uses his cooldown to get in there, and unfortunately gets taken out there by FRZ God. Gera answers back, but the Maeve is starting to pop off here. A double for the Maeve, a double for the Furia. That's a great Dread Serpent as well to buy themselves some space. Overtime now, they have to get back in and get a touch if you're on the side of Kanga. And Gera now has 3 kills straight in this fight, and here's the King Bomb, from Evil Eye. Finds a kill, finds a stun, and Gera wraps that one up.
Everything there is near flawless. Honestly, from both teams, it's just Kanga that is left standing at the end of the day. 99 for SSG.
Wow.
Kanga in control of the point, however. 84 and climbing. The clock strikes midnight as SSG come for the take-back.
And they don't have any vision right now, remember, and they don't find any kills from it. Overtime goes the way of Kanga right now, and they find point number 1 just almost getting in there, and the kills may end up coming through on the back end here, but that was a very good retake fight because Space Station really won the first engagement on this map. But Kanga were able to retake and have some resources ready that notably the King Bomb from Evil Eye there got so much value.
Honestly, I'm giving the credit for that fight to both supports. I thought Midtown, he was hitting a ton of shots. Big heals, hits. I believe that was a triple Dread Serpent on the objective. So the fact that SSG couldn't win the round 1 fight off of a triple Dread Serpent just goes to show you how important that Inflame was from Gera to not only keep him alive, but to amp up the chances that him and Evil Eye could get something done. The King Bomb was really, really big. But again, for me, it's like the fact that Gera even stayed alive long enough to get that Inflame off, that was really where it went wrong. You need to win those fights off of triple Dread Serpents.
It's a good seismic crash. Just buy some time. It was a funny interaction in that it was Freeze God like with 1, and then Gera answers back, and it was just like the Maeve versus the Furion, who was ever going to get the higher multi-kill in that one. They both ended, I believe, with a double. Finally back to the payload now, are Kanga, though. They have 4 ultimates here. Space Station burned a lot to try to stop them from getting back to it. Notably, the seismic crash just used. The King Bomb will be ready soon, so you can effectively count Kanga at 5 ultimate strong here. A roundabout sort of attack from Space Station puts them almost up behind Kanga right now. Rochelle getting dangerously low. The wall's going to block off a lot of that damage, so well played from him. There's another great Dread Serpent. Oh, but there must be some resilience there because they nearly got picked off, but now they finally are able to wrap up the damage.
Really, really nicely played by SSG, funneling everybody through that small little crack in the wall. Hits a big Dread Serpent. Big credit to Rochelle for making that play possible, and Midtown for knocking it out of the park.
Rhino the last to go here. Ares with a couple. They only use the Inflame there on the side of Kanga, trying to keep themselves alive, so they still have 4 ultimates if they want to try to burn a lot to get this one through here. Of course, you look for a pick or 2, which maybe indicates how deep you really need to go into your ultimate pocket. Ares, though, free firing on this Tyra, and that's what he'll look to do. The crossfire could have a huge impact here in this fight. It's really just Rochelle taking on the damage of 4 members of Kanga. The wall is good to block off anyone who's not able to get up top there on the side, but he's free firing away. He's teeing off right now as Evil Eye, and there's no damage returning in onto him, and now he can get aggressive. There's half health bars for 2 members, 3 members of Space Station right now. He bites off just a little bit too much. He stays alive, but the rest of the kills are coming up red, and overtime is very much in the flex here if you're Kanga.
Yeah, going either way there. That stun would have hit if he didn't die mid-flight. Rhino taken down. Midtown just getting involved this game, making sure that he's spitting on everybody. I love it, though. I mean, the support damage is you cannot sleep on it. It is going to add up, and both Gera and Midtown have done a really, really good job at staying in. Like, here it is right now. Both these supports can do good damage.
Nice.
And that Pyre Strike out of the sky, it's why he's one of the best to ever do it.
And this was the impactful team fight. They were just trading back kills. 1, 2. He actually has 3. in this fight. And look at that, yeah, plugging away 400, 500 damage on some of these crits, and that's just that's kind of an unspoken thing with you know, Furia. We talk about the stuns, we talk about the heals, the inflame is so huge, but a guy like Gera, then a relatively aggressive support player, gets on the Furia. Also note, top damage in the game, going to Rochelle on the Inara right now. That's something to look at. But the damage Furia brings just with her primary attacks is something that you can't scoff at.
So much resilience comes out for Kanga early, but it's not going to stop Evil Eye from going down. Fast Pyre Strike to try and slow down the assault, but he's surrounded from all sides. The chokehold here from SSG.
And they throw everything at the wall except, well, actually, no, that's not even true. They throw the Crossfire and the Dread Serpent, and that's it. And they win that convincingly, already up to 72% on the point. Kanga are going to have 5 ultimates, though, for the retake attempt, but so often we see the team that swings first is the one that ends up setting the pace, and that's exactly what Spacestation do here. They don't get a chance to use a single ultimate on the side of Kanga. Point number 2 goes the way of Spacestation.
That's really bad, considering that would have gone well, I think, for Kanga Esports. They invested so heavily into resilience that all of these control-oriented ultimates from SSG, the Dread Serpent, Assert Dominance, Seismic Crash, and even the Midnight, all of that is mitigated by resilience. So if Kanga just threw a punch, I really think they would have been able to kind of take that fight.
And you know, it's just the way these are going. A nice triple from Ares, 5 in a row on the Tyra. But it seems interesting to me that if you really watch the kill feed in these fights, you know, it's FRZ God, it's Ares, it's the 2 damage dealers from Spacestation that are finding so many kills. Rochelle dips his toes in every once in a while, but in these last couple of fights, it's really been Gera finding the kills for Kanga Esports. And Chronix has not had the pop-off performance that we were used to seeing in games 1 and 2 here. Evil Eye has had some good plays, but the only one really finding the kills right now for Kanga is Gera.
And what a funny world that is to live in. Ares hits the gas pedal, takes down Chronix. It's a 1-0, a 2-0 here. Kanga is on the back foot.
They need to find a way to stall this one out because 3-1, that seems almost insurmountable. Sadak coming alive on that off-tank roll. It's going to be one, it's going to be the other. It's going to be Ares to round this one out with Freeze God. This one's rounding the corner, pushing its way through with a minute left. They have a good couple of tries at this one as Kanga are now respawning out. Only 3 members, though, 5 seconds. Soon respawning as the Barrack, of course. Midtown getting himself some healing through here, but Kanga have almost an uphill battle to get back to this payload right now. It's getting close. The Dread Serpent could just buy them time, and that's maybe all they need. The bowling ball gets Joel's right back in with a little bit of shielding. Rhino and Ares each trading out 1 right here. The Midnight could buy some space as well. But instead, the kills are just going to come up in favor of Evil Eye. It's a 2-for-1, though, with Spacestation out in the lead. He needs to get back here. The Seismic Crash stuns out a couple. Evil Eye's keeping himself alive. There's still 30 seconds left, though, so Spacestation could back off and regroup. It looks like that's what they're going to do.
Nicely played there by Evil Eye, making sure that target prioritization was key. Spent a little bit of time attacking Inara, but quickly switched to Maeve, realizing that Freeze God is nearly free-firing from up on the high ground, if you can call that, you know, 4-foot ledge high ground in this instance. 12-6 though, 12-5 the back line, and even Sadak at 9-6 and 16 are really getting involved, staying involved, and finishing these kills.
This is going to be an impactful Assert Dominance if he's able to get it off. They might not need it with Ares finding kill number 1 in this fight. King Bomb as well. Oh, Chronix, that's such an important answer back, but he's not able to stay alive. Good shots from Michelle. Up and over goes Sadak, but he has the Assert Dominance. Is he able to get it off? He does not just in time. Rhino is able to answer back there. The kills are going back and forth. It's a 3-for-3 team fight, but the respawns are going to be in favor of Kanga. Evil Eye takes it over, and what an important takeover that was. It's 2-2 instead of 3-1.
Boy, he's got some reload speed, doesn't he? Oh, goodness gracious. Evil Eye on the King running a very effective loadout card. It's one of the, you know, easiest to leverage but most impactful cards for Bomb King, because a lot of what Bomb King is just auto attacking. He doesn't do any other damage outside of his ultimate. I mean, you throw out your Grumpy Bomb and maybe you get a stun, maybe you don't. Poppy Bomb is what it is. More of a utility tool than anything. So cards like healing when you auto attack, more health, reload speed, things that allow you to auto attack more frequently and for longer periods of time are very effective on the King.
I feel like it's so impactful to have an Inara as well with top damage in the game on your team. I mean, that's almost less of a slight, I think, against your damage dealers, and just really showing that Rochelle is taking over these fights where he's able just to outpoke the enemy team.
Yeah, he's got a lot of room to work with the Maldamba, keeping him fueled up. Long distance Dread Serpent, I'm not sure if it connects with anyone.
It doesn't look like it does. The Inflame actually really impactful here from Kanga, but instead they only find 1 kill. It's a 4 versus 3 that's going to round out this one, but what's really important is they can't get anywhere close to the point, and if they get staggered out on the back end, this could be dangerous. This is another example of where Spacestation are just able to get those impactful ultimates out first. Notably Crossfire, Assert Dominance, and Dread Serpent, and Kanga just aren't able to punch back. That's a good stun, keeps Evil Eye out of the fight, but Rhino, he's still up. You gotta be careful when the cons start to pop off here. Freeze God sees to it that he doesn't get to play. Evil Eye, though, he won the last round for him. He could do it again here. He's plugging away. Double kill onto Sadak, and it looks like Kanga have answered back and retaken the point.
Calculated aggression there. Evil Eye knew he could take that shoulder bash on the chin and continue to swing for the fences. Gets a couple, like a preemptive sticky or two onto that Ashe while she's damage reduction, and then pops them after she comes out of it.
It's a big brain play there from Evil Eye. Now this is such an important point fight, 93% for Kanga, so they're going to be the ones fighting from up above. It depends who finds really the first pick. This hangs in the balance. It is going to be Freeze God, but Gera answers right back. But you got to watch out when the Mave starts to pop off, especially when Evil Eye and Chronix are your targets. You have no damage left if you're Kanga. Of course, Rhino's still around, but a double kill from Ares is going to see to it that Kanga lose this one in Space Station. They could push for the win.
It's just more damage coming out of Space Station right now. The hunting party in that type of environment, Tyra's allowed to just free fire from the back line, but she's staying alive and continuously marking people. You saw marked up, I believe it was Joel on the bear, maybe it was Evil Eye on the bomb game. It was definitely Evil Eye. He gets marked up. Cat Burglar is activated from the prowl from Maeve, and those daggers are hitting for over 600 damage. That's a full-fledged Kinessa or Strix Snipe taken to the face. It's that type of damage amp in these chaotic, very heavy team fight. That's talking like team shotting environments where people are just taking such crazy amounts of damage from Hunting Party.
And you mentioned it on Splitstone, excuse me. They did end up winning, of course, 4-0.
You hungry? You want a scone?
I would love a nice scone right now. You mentioned it on Splitstone, though, and that, you know, Freeze God maybe missing a couple daggers, and he's really popped back in this one.
Yeah.
Every single team fight, at least with one, more often than not with 2 or 3. The Maeve showing the impact that she can and maybe should have in a lot of these. Assert Dominance comes through for Sadak. The resilience is so great here from Jules, though. And Flame could flip things around, but yet again, as we often see, a 1-for-1 starts things off. Sadak's able just to free fire. Shoulder bash gets him out. He's at 600 health, though. The damage wraps the corner from Chronix. That's going to send him back to base. Now it's 3 members of Space Station just reeling back. The minute left to regroup.
That's a really good Assert Dominance from Sadak, and the reason I think that team fight doesn't just roll over in favor of Space Station Gaming is Rhino. I think Rhino does a really good job somehow staying alive out in the chaos, the maelstrom of that onslaught. SSG, the follow-up was really just kind of cut off. You saw the Assert Dominance go in, hit it, get a really good angle, get a stun, but there wasn't any follow-up.
And Kanga are playing very bunched up here, which is maybe why some of these, you know, AoE ultimates are finding as much value as they are. Beautiful engage there from Kanga, knowing exactly the moment where they need to get aggressive, especially with 30 seconds left. You know, basically out of the fight for 10 on the respawn timer, and then another 10 to get back to the point. They'll have time to get in and get a touch here, Space Station. But they're going to be trying to push this one all the way in. Basically in overtime would be my guess. 15 seconds remaining is the official call. Looking at the slash lines, yeah, Gera has 9 kills. I mean, he's right up there with the rest of Rhino, Evil Eye, and Chronix, having a great game on the support up to this point. And this really is a war of attrition, I would say.
Freeze got poked out pretty low in the back line, but he's floating there. He's really a threat, gets the flank off, kills Evil Eye, but it's answered back quickly.
How many times have we seen a 1-for-1 trade to start off any of these team fights? I would say almost every single time, but unfortunately for the side of blue, Space Station are the ones to answer back. Freeze God's still alive. You have to be careful when the Maeve is able to extend these fights and are hitting the daggers the way he is. With overtime ticking away, though, Kanga will have actually a couple of tries at this defense here. Joel's extending his team fight, so Freeze God now takes a seat. And this payload's now starting to move forward. Still overtime, though. Kanga have 5 ultimates. Space Station have 5 ultimates. Kanga, they need to prevent this one from going in, and if they expend too much, it could be an easy point fight over for the red side if they make this 3-3. But they have to stop this one first.
Here comes the first of what could be many. Overpower's going to pull an R right into spawn, get the insta-gib, move back out and take this fight 4v5. Kanga need to hold.
They need to win this one now. Now that they have, okay, they do. I was going to say now that
hold.
I was going to say now that they have the objective, They really needed to win it. I think Spacestation knew that without the front line, the inherent 5v4 advantage from Kanga, that was all they needed. But if they had to expend too much, if Spacestation really pushed the issue there and maybe forced Kanga to burn another ultimate or two, could have gotten sloppy. So now we have a 0.7 tied up 3-3 here. Notably, the overpower is gone, used to just solidify that defense. But what Kanga need to do, I think, is really swing first with their ultimates. We've seen them trying to retake too many times this game.
That'd be nice. That would definitely be nice. And there's a silver lining for both squads. If you're a Kanga fan, overpower hasn't been overly effective or, you know, insta-gib worthy like a Splitstone overpower would be. And if you're a Space Station fan, you know, they cut their losses right there. I guess they kind of run away, take the money and run, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Because 19%, if they drag that fight out, overpower would have gotten recharged.
The question is who is able to throw the first punch here. Scout buys them some vision. There's a Dread Serpent, but does it find very much? It does. It sends Gera running, and now he's in the eyes of Freeze God. If he could win this one, the healing's all gone. Again, a 1-for-1 trade, but what's important here is Sadak for Gera. I tilted in the way of Space Station because the healing's gone, but they might not need it if the damage is good enough from Kanga here. They throw everything at the wall, both teams. Only the assert dominance for Space Station is around, and Kanga somehow, despite losing their healer first, they're the ones on the point, and Space Station are the ones that need to retake.
Everyone has just a little bit of like load-out self-sustain cards, and SSG, frankly, they really don't get that aggressive off the back of that Gera pick, so maybe you were right, but they don't capitalize on that opportunity. Ares gets the 1-for-0, and I think the dust is settling. I don't think we're seeing the 1-for-1 here.
No, it doesn't seem that way just as of yet. Now, at this point, it'll just be another individual pick. 87% is what Kanga were able to garner in this case, and Rashao is getting so aggressive. Here's your 1-for-1. Rashao, though, right in the face of Evil Eye. He needs to be careful. Throws up the wall, and that's a beautiful wall there to block things off. 90% now for Space Station. 93 needs to get in and get a touch. The Poppy Bomb's not going to do it, and they were just fighting out of position there. Space Station, that's a nitty-gritty fight win, and I think that's indicative of this matchup.
George of the Jungle just goes swinging in there at the end, and Evil Eye can't get the touch. I gave credit for that final fight to Sadak. You can just see his silhouette off in the distance, but he was pretty much tanking 1v4, keeping Kanga back, keeping them distracted, while SSG not only continued to capture, but really kind of spread out and took ideal positionings to almost really win and lock down that fight.
And don't forget this, Kanga won 1 and 2, and now 3 straight wins for Space Station. The momentum heavily in their favor. Kanga needs to win 2. No room for error. Let's hear what the desk is thinking.
One away. Space Station Gaming, the team coming into this one that didn't look like they were going to win a single game, honestly. You saw Kanga come out so fierce, and now all of a sudden, match point on Space Station side of things.
And I know, you know, me and you were just talking about, we were talking about best of sevens, and it was just like, hasn't made that big of a difference. There's been a couple of sets this year that have been like, yeah, this, like, if we had a best of 5 or if we had a best of 3, this would not have been a good set.
Right.
But this is one of the rare instances we've seen a team go 3 maps in a row. And if SSG win the next one, it, I think, would be one of the only instances outside of just a 4-0 regularly that a team would come back and win for in a row.
The full reverse. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly an interesting set right now. Evil Eye, I think, did his job on the Bomb King, something that we didn't see earlier. However, still, I think, fell down a few too many times, allowed Space Station to really take advantage. And, I mean, Ares on the Tyra.
This was, I think, a combination of things, right? Evil Eye did really well, but the problem was that was all Kanga had to fight back into Space Station. So whenever Space Station, which every single fight came in, Space Station did well, Evil Eye fought back, and then Space Station were like, cool, we're 5 people again, we can come back and fight. And so every point fight felt like it was just this 1-2 punch from SSG, except for the very first one. And then the defense would come out because Evil Eye did well, or because somebody on Kanga did well. But you have Maeve, and you have a Tyra. Tyra using her mark is going to melt through people. Maeve using Tyra's mark and her own abilities are going to melt through people. And so SSG had multiple ways to execute their win condition, right? Which was essentially just kill Kanga for most of that. That's how this map tends to work. It's kind of a weird TDM point capture more than anything. It's just a fight through and through, whereas Kanga, they really needed that Bomb King to just blow up because the Cassie was there and it was doing damage, but it wasn't the kills that you needed.
Yeah, it was almost as if they needed like a Kinessa or a Strix to find those last hits that we usually see those snipers kind of holding. Obviously map dependent, but always just missing a little bit of damage, and so the kills didn't really come the way, unfortunately, for Kanga. And so They will return to the drawing board one more time. After that one, what specifically do you want to see changed up? Because, like I said, last time it was easier to say, all right, Kanga, you lost this because Evil Eye didn't play Bomb King well. Well, he played it well. It just, what's missing?
I think the biggest thing that we're starting to see, and this one actually was specific for that map, but like I think Maldamba is very, very important for Jera. As of right now, it feels kind of like it's not. I mean, he is the best healer when it comes down to it. Like Genos is prioritized over him because Luminary is really good, but Jera feels more comfortable on Maldamba than he does on Furia, and I think that's one of the things that we've kind of seen them picking away a little bit more at on SSG, where it's just like both Mitao and Jera will be able to play him, but we have seen, I think actually, the first map was Furia for Kanga, it worked out well. Second map was Maldamba, it worked out well, but it just kind of feels like maybe they're kind of pushing Jera back and keeping him corralled.
Well, it's interesting as we make our way to Frozen Guard. You look at Space Station Gaming, and a lot of times, micro and macro are more related than you think. And when you look at when you zoom out and you look at what Space Station Gaming have been able to do, I mentioned earlier that they are a little bit slow on the uptake when it comes to meta changes.
Yeah.
Game gets patched, Space Station lose a week, and then they get it, right? And on a micro level, we're seeing the same thing. Space Station Gaming go against Kanga win a couple. Now Space Station have had a chance to see what the Orange Squad is going to bring. They've identified, all right, that Maldamba, all right, your point tanks, we got to watch out for that. Boom, boom. And now here, they've been able to respond successfully, 3-2.
This is, assuming that Kanga do what I think they're going to do here, which is ban Eevee and force SSG to ban Torvald, the way I kind of want the game to be approached, but in a way where it's like we want to force SSG to ban out something that would be too strong for us, let us get a strong pick. It ended up being the same bans overall that we've seen, but I feel like when you're in a first pick position, like there's multiple ways to play it. We're only going to leave one pick available out of all of this because we're going to ban one. And then, of course, there's the way to retaliate if you're SSG, which is we're going to leave 3 picks available. We'll give you 1, we'll grab 2. And so it's that tango that I want to see teams play with. And I think that's something that Kanga has kind of been hurting them. They've been banning mostly the same things. I mean, the entire bans have been the same for the last 4+ games. And it's like Makoa Torvald makes sense. Eevee on the side of Kanga makes sense because both teams, or on SSG, whichever, both teams really love her. But being able to say, you know what, let's let Eevee through. Like, whether or not they get it. Like, if we leave enough open, then we either get her or we get something else that can deal with her.
Yeah, I want to see SSG throw away a ban here. Leave Torvald and Eevee up. I want to see both of them up here from Space Station. Honestly, I think that's the best thing to do because obviously Evil Eye is the Eevee guy, but at the same time SSG have players that can play the flyer. So we'll see how this works. Kanga now, Torvald, Eevee, not banned. Both of them choseable, but only one.
And the big thing is that, Khan, who's been a power pick for all these teams, I think first pick every single game.
Yes.
Yes, first pick every single game is still available. And if you pick Khan here as Kanga, you give up a Torvald Eevee combo, which is very strong. Like, Eevee doesn't struggle. Well, no, she does. She kind of struggles against Torvald because she doesn't want to buy Wrecker. And almost 9 times out of 10, you shouldn't be buying Wrecker on Eevee. But when you're up against a Torvald, everyone has to. It has to be that combo. So getting both of them on one side, it does kind of make the fight almost immediately a little lopsided.
This is a big gamble for Kanga on match point. With a best of 7, usually you play something like this on in game number 4, right?
Yeah.
So that you can have. All right, we'll see how good they are with the Torvald Eevee, and if we can beat it, we can beat it. But sometimes you just can't.
Yeah.
So seeing this strategy on match point is largely surprising. This is something you generally see a little bit earlier in the contest. So Kanga responding with Cassie and Barak.
I would not be surprised to see SSG go for a Genos as well. Like, Maldamba doesn't hurt, but Genos on top of Torvald, like, it kind of depends on what you want to run with him. Torvald is not a point tank. That is the biggest thing. And he's not an aggro tank either. You can't really play, like, you can play him aggressively, you can deal damage with him, but you're almost putting yourself at risk when you do so. He's a support tank. He's going to stand on the side. I'm going to bubble whoever I need to bubble, and I'm going to act as a supplementary healer.
Which is why I love Eevee alongside of him. Eevee, one of the more aggressive characters, going to get all the way into your back line, kill somebody, blink, soar out, right? That's what you're looking for out of the Eevee. And so while Torvald takes a step back from characters like Khan or Ashe, Eevee takes a step forward, and it all balances out like a bad chemistry test. So you got to look out for that when you're looking at your composition. Torvald, Eevee combine very well, and you're talking about lack of a point tank in Nara Meldamba, and you're going to kill that?
That's actually, I think, the biggest thing. SSG are changing up a playstyle. Like, so Kanga is very aggressive, and when so far, like, they're successful when they can get in, they win a fight, and they just hold. They are not as good at the retake as we've kind of seen, like, even during that last map. They'd come in, they'd get a retake, and then immediately lose what grip they had on it. SSG have staying power. That is what this composition is. It is Eevee's going to kill you. If we lock in Victor here, Victor's going to kill you. But then Inara is just going to stand on the point, and good luck getting to her. And if you do, good luck killing her.
This is just more, doubling down on what I said earlier. Coach Kresnik and SSG here combining to, do a better job at responding rather than coming out of the gate. And that's the beauty of a best of 7. Frankly, you can lose all of your game 1s for the entire season and still win a championship. And SSG are just responding. They've noted that Kanga are better on the offensive than looking for the retake, and SSG has crafted a composition that's incredibly difficult to try and retake from.
Especially for a map like Frozen Guard. This one's going to play more against Kanga than anything. Cassie, Shaolin are really, really good on here. I think Furia is really, really good on this map, and all three of those, their goal is going to be damage, cauterize, wrecker. Like, Cassie and Shaolin are some of the best bubble poppers that there are in the game, so dealing with Torvald is going to be something Kanga can do, but the problem is you have to get the items online to do so. You have to kind of get to round 2 late or round 3 to be able to get there, so you have to get a point.
Match point for Spacestation. Let's jump on in.
Down into Frozen Guard we go. It's going to be match point for Spacestation Gaming. They need to find just one more win. Kanga, they got to go back to their early form. They got to find 2 more wins in order to take it here. Frozen Guard's the map. Torvald comes through notably from Sadak in this case. What does that change up as far as game flow and what you need to look at for Kanga?
Well, all that stuff that Sadak was able to do last time, he's really not going to be able to do. I mean, with Ashe, he could get in there, he could tank that 1v4 scenario and keep a lid on certain members of Kanga Esports. But with Torvald, your hands are kind of out of it. You press your button and you hope that Freeze God kills everyone. That's pretty much what it is.
He did that exactly last game. He was able to find so many kills, really pole vaulted his team up into the victory. 3%. Kind of negligible if you look at it in this case, but the early engagement's happening on this left side of the map for the high ground. Looks like Os Rhino's going to be able to find, well, it's not going to be first blood. Instead, Evil Eye's going to do it onto Ares. That's a perfect trade out if you're on the side of Kanga as well as Sadak. There goes the Torvald bubbles. His impact is now negligible. Rashao is going to be the next to go. Space Station were able to garner a good bit of percentage onto the point and negates a little bit of this early presence from Kanga, but they win the team fight, and now they're the ones who are able to find the dismount and find the pressure.
They won that fight.
Yeah.
Boy, did they ever. And maybe taking a little page out of the PCL book here, a little Flashpoint Torvald-Vic combination.
That's right.
I think Prosper Logic would be proud. Maybe not of the outcome, but at least of the honor of his ire here. 78% climbing. Kanga Esports, will they get this one? Not without a contest.
Well, Rashao is going to get in and get the touch, which will start the overtime in this case, but now they need to have somebody in there on that point. The early flank coming in from the Eevee, as well as some ultimates starting to fly. Either way, Evil Eye's able to win just the initial trade, and you got to look at this for Kanga. You're okay to back off, allow them to be on the point a little bit, both Rhino and Chronix finding the early 2 kills in this case. They're able to retake this point in a big way. Rashao is so low. Freeze God answers back, which is important, but it's a lowly 2 members of Space Station trying to fight back against Kanga. That's a good Ice Storm. Well played there from Freeze God, but just not enough. Kanga find point number 1 on the board.
Honestly, my favorite part about that fight was Evil Eye's planted right there at the end. There's this moment of, like, when you're holding a corner with planted and somebody dips back behind that cover, you can either like try and target swap and flop that really kind of difficult to aim ability onto somebody else, or you do what Evil Eye does and you just keep plugging away at that corner, assuming that someone's going to get into that peak rhythm and peak you eventually. And he gets the read. I mean, he hits 2 shots on 2 different targets, literally not moving his crosshair that entire channel.
You know what's important, Nick, is they didn't use any ultimates to capture that point, which allows them to now use their ultimates in Flame, Heat Haze, now coming off the board, and they still have 3. Overpowered, Dome Shield, as well as the Scout, are ready for Kanga Esports, Space Station Gaming, and look, this is so important. This is where you look if you're on the attacking team. Once you're able to break into the base, it actually becomes pretty tough to defend against, with the range on defense being the main main advantage. That's a Dread Serpent that is going to buy a little bit of that space back for Spacestation Gaming. No kills just yet. Freeze God finds the first one. Kanga, they're going to back off with 1 minute and 20 seconds left. Maybe a few stagger kills coming through as well.
And this is what I wanted to see. You know, maybe if Ares is just getting collapsed on and obliterated with these bubbles, maybe buff FRZ got a couple of times too. Anyway, EV Torvald is certainly an avenue of success that a lot of teams have taken over time. One thing that I also want to kind of note here is if you look at this Kanga comp, this is almost like the ideal, barring I think as far as a question mark around Gera, how much does he love Furia? He's clearly been very good with her, but personal preference-wise, I think this is a very good lineup for Kanga.
And super impactful on the Furia in the last game on Shattered Desert. Not only finding as many kills almost as the rest of his damage dealers, but the healing was great. Really knowing the moments to use those in flames, and that's what's so important about Furia is really hitting that gas pedal for the rest of your team. Looks good on it, maybe not his most prioritized healer, but definitely has made it impactful up to this point. Kanga still attacking with 3 ultimates, only 2 ready for Spacestation on this defense here, 20 seconds left. So likely the last team fight here. If Kanga gets sweeped, it's going to be tough to get back and get a touch in time. Taking just too much chunk damage as Evil Eye. He has to use the disengage, and Freeze God flies in, finds that kill. Now they're fighting into the base, but at a disadvantage.
And disconnected. Freeze God has taken out the support as well as Evil Eye at this point. And that mid-range shot is so important for Eevee to hit, and Freeze God is doing a good job. And when they're connecting with full damage and field steady, that is over 1,000 damage on that shot.
And just talking his boys through it as Sadak when that round comes to a close. So we're at a 1-to-1 here. I mean, as clean as you can get as a team fight in that first round there for Kanga. They find a very easy point fight capture for number 1, notably not using many ultimates. They were not able to turn that utility advantage into a point capture in this case. But Gera showing us today how impactful a good Furia can be.
Right, you know, so much damage comes out of this character, so much utility in the damage amp and the move speed ultimate, a quick charging ultimate, stuns on the Pyre Strike. It's a character that really lacks mobility and can't run away very effectively, but when you're winning, boy, are you winning.
And Freeze God 6-2 here to start off this one. And the impactful kills he had. I mean, only a double in those last couple of fights. I say only a double as if it's easy to do. 8-3, excuse me, not 6-2. So he finds 8 kills where the rest of his team only have 3 combined. And that's been that Eevee, you know, that's so highly prioritized, especially with Freeze God and Evil Eye being as good on the champion as they are. And that really shows you why here. Spacestation are going to have 5 ultimates to back into it. 4 for Kanga with the Scout coming out early. But Space Stations are the ones who are on the point initially. Jules, though, he finds Ares. That's the worst person that you could lose right now for Space Station. Of course, the mobility advantage from the Eevee. Evil Eye, though, sees to it that both of the damage dealers are gone. And Kanga, they're looking just as good in this point fight as they did last time around.
Hyper Beam actually does take down Rhino. Disengage. Nice target swaps from Joel. He's staying involved very, very effectively in this fight. And again, it is winning hard for Kanga Esports. 87 and climbing to 21 for SSG.
And this is where the defensive advantage is so important for Space Station. Kanga have really been stalwarted. Granted, this is only their 2nd try at it, but the first time around, despite early aggression pushing into the base of Space Station, Kanga never really got all that close to pushing that payload through. So with 2 minutes left, they're going to look to change some things up here. Would you say the range advantage kind of goes to Space Station here on the defensive stand, despite a Cassie and Shaolin on the opposite side?
I think they can contest with this Victor, and I think softening targets up is good for the Eevee, but in total, no. I think on paper, Shaolin and Cassie outrange just a Victor. Big moment there in the mid-fight before we kind of transition to what could be a conversion fight coming up is Evil Eye just gets the better of Freeze God. You know, we didn't see the rest of that fight, but a big moment. Freeze God blinks or soars over this bush and gets, you know, just Dikembe Mutombo'd out of the air by the Impaler arrow. Immediate heat haze pop. You can see Freeze God shooting, panicking, not really knowing where the Shaolin is, in and out of the ice block quickly. Evil Eye handled Freeze on that fight.
Well, that Dethroner walks by in an NBA shirt the moment you make that reference. Timing could not have been better on that end. The bubbles going over the way of Freeze God. He blinks in, and that's what's important right now. That's what he did last time, is just chunk away. Make Evil Eye, make Chronix uncomfortable to even step forward in some of these fights. Joel's, of course, holding that underpass section. Minute left, his payload's getting close to going through. The wall is going to block off Joel's, but the healing is good, just misses. He's able to get out with his life here, but Rhino bites off just a little bit too much. But now the question is, how much can the rest of the team get? Kanga, they're looking at a disadvantage
Chronix
here.
is
They don't
deep.
use any. They don't use any ultimates. Chronix tries to stay alive here. Jules is going to be the last to go. Just going to wait to get staggered out here. And this is smart from Spacestation, especially with how far the walk back is. Jules and the body block, even that little micro play there prevents Jules from getting down just a little bit longer. So 5 seconds left on his respawn, but a very long walk back to this payload.
That frozen guard is brutal. 7 seconds, and the long journey begins for that little barrack. Probably an overtime to be had here. Freeze God just trying to poke out a little bit, make sure that he softens up a couple of these targets on their way. And Gara's kind of in a rough spot. Freeze knows he has him.
Yeah.
Really held at this corner. Ooh. He might even full commit with the sword.
Almost did. I was maybe expecting him to go up and over. Does not in this case, but yeah, his eyes are firmly planted. But in the meantime, Chronix is wrapped around, and that's allowed him to drop Freeze God off. So now it's a 4v5 advantage for Kanga, and they're deep inside the base of Spacestation. 3 seconds left on the respawn. Chronix, Rhino, they get dropped by the Victor, and that could be all she wrote as Spacestation are getting the respawns through. It's 3 members left. Only Jules, only Chronix are left alive. The healing's good, but it's not going to be enough. It looks like Spacestation are going to take the defense. We're down to a 2-2.
So they don't get it done, but what I do like about that one is that rotation from Chronix and Rhino. It's very interesting. In all my years, I've never really seen something like that. That is a very practiced and calculated play that they're going to rotate back, make sure that that high ground isn't safe. They have an angle on it. It doesn't end up working out. It gets punished very heavily by Victor's barrage, but it took them a while. I was very surprised at just how long they stayed alive on that back staircase. Space Station and frankly, everyone else in the league in the world of Paladins is not really used to that type of rotation from
Kanga.
It
was so smart from Freeze God to be so focused on Gara because, you know, 1 or 2 more shots. Well played, triple kill here from Rochelle, but 1 or 2 more shots and Gara gets cleaned up, but that opens up the door for what you pointed out was the good rotation there from Chronix. They end up falling in the team fight anyway. You're down to a 2-2 here. 5 ultimates ready for Kanga, 5 ultimates ready for Spacestation, but Kanga have really controlled the point fight up to this point.
A lot of ultimates to work with. Scout pop just for the information.
That's a good overpower.
Nice wall as well.
Oh, no!
Rhino's punished. The overpower doesn't get much. Freeze God does eventually die, though.
He does eventually die. Again, back to the 1-for-1 trades. The seismic crash buys some time, but he's solo. Rochelle needs to stay alive. Evil Eye dances out within an inch of his life. Rochelle's able to clean that one up here. But Kanga, they have 78% on the point. They do have a numbers disadvantage. Space Station are going to be able to retake right now. But that was very, very close.
That's probably okay, man. I mean, you lose that fight, but close to 80% captured. Sure. That is very much where the blurred line starts to come into effect, and you're wondering, was that really a win at the end of the day? Now, Ice Storm, the only ultimate available, 98% on Barrage, though. SSG have to land big with these ultimates.
Ice Storm is the question. Barrage just doesn't find any kills in this case. Freeze God is the worst person to get caught out right now. And a beautiful wall, though, buys some time for Rochelle. They actually have the point advantage in this case. With Ares cleaning up Jules, it's another 1-for-1 trade. Chronix just gets wrapped around on, but Evil Eye is still alive. They get back onto the point with 93%, Nick. But they're at a 3-4 disadvantage, but Garrett's going to even it right on out with a kill. And he's popping off right now.
Yeah, big damage from the support. Big moment here for Evil Eye. These are critical shots. Can't afford to miss very much. Withdrawal. Lands on Sadak. One more kill. Blinking around. Staying focused. Evil Eye is dialed in.
He is doing it right now, right when the team needed him to do it. They were at a disadvantage that entire point fight, and then Evil Eye stays alive just long enough, and he turns it around. 3-2 Kanga. They're pushing for the win right now, and that was almost a retake from them. I mean, they truly did because Space Station were on the point, but even minorly in that fight, Space Station had 2 or 3 kills to Kanga's 1. And Evil Eye, he came up big right when his team needed him to.
They needed every last drop of that capture, so that's why it was so important to have that 80% lead on the point. Space Station had nothing to build on. They were really starting from the ground floor up. Kanga took their time, slowly but surely worked their way back in. Chronix did a lot. He died, but he did a lot of damage before he went down.
He did. I mean, and just extending his life just a little bit. He had maybe 1 little bar of health left, doing enough damage before inevitably being taken down. 10-10 for FRZ God, so he's had a lot of impactful kills, but has also been taken out. He's been the point of contact here for Kanga, really looking, or who they're looking to really eliminate in this case. 8-4 on Gara. I mean, not only a healing threat, but an offensive threat as well.
Rhino misses the overpower. Evil Eye 12, 6, and 15. Really, really star-studded performance here from Evil Eye. He is going to fall there first in this engagement with so much time left on the clock. Chronix just dives off for the full reset. Back to base for Kanga Esports. Let's take a look at the item screen, though.
Yeah.
As we will go back, and you do get that 300 credits for capturing the payload. So Kanga having some money to spend. You can see it's all being banked now, and mostly resilience. A couple of rejuvenates for the tanks, both the backliners looking to finish off those cauterizes and wreckers.
The resilience, huge. I mean, if you look at, you have Seismic Crash, Dread Serpent, Hyper Beam. All of those are going to be mitigated heavily by the resiliences. So
yeah.
Good purchase for sure from Kanga, and this is where they've had a hard time. All 3 points they've had are from either a defense or a point capture. Not able to convert it here. They could tie up the entire set with a successful conversion here as they have 3 points on the board. 2 points. Joel's dropping Freeze God. That's so important in this one. The healing just misses out on Evil Eye. Here comes the Seismic Crash down and through, but Kanga, they've gotten into the base of Space Station right now, and they have a 2-kill lead in this one. Rhino, he's staying alive, but Mitao, he drops Chronix. That's so important in this case. If he was able to stay alive and continue his tear, this one could have been over, but it looks like Space Station have stabilized.
I mean, it never really comes to this where SSG need to lean super heavily on it, but that play was phenomenal from Rashao to kind of like counter-rotate almost out of his own base, but throw the wall up to completely block off that main entrance. You can contest through a Nara wall, so he's still contesting the payload, but he's completely separated from all the other 9 players in this game. He isolates himself knowing that this wall is going to buy me so much time. My team can dance in and out of spawn, and nobody has to be worried about being down in the meat grinder.
And wouldn't you know it, Nick, we got another 3-3 point fight, another 7-point game here, and this is either game over to Space Station or game 7. The set is extended, so highly impactful final point fight. And again, I mean, you have to look at the history of the point fights in this game. Space Station struck first.
Yeah.
But Kanga have won all 3 ensuing points, or all 2, I should say, ensuing points. Or has it? They've captured all 3 and just not converted 3 times?
Right.
So yeah, they've firmly been in control of these mid fights up to this point. And now they're going to hope for a little bit more of the same, and they need a little bit more of the same. An early wrap around here from Space Station. The bubbles are good. They have to back off. Are they able to get out of range? The Dread Serpent catches Evil Eye, but the resilience, that's where it's important. But Rhino's the opening kill in this fight.
Look at this, already committed to just capturing away on the objective. Freeze God, does he make it out? No, Sadok's out of position now as well. Chronix stays alive, deals with them both expertly. Big heal as well. He just needs to run away, stay alive. They deal with the Sonar. This is a huge swing for Kanga.
Rashao is so deep right now. He bit off so much trying to get Chronix, and Chronix is able to stay alive. It was Evil Eye last time around. It's Chronix this time around. They win the team fight, and they could win the game.
Now, I think Mitao does a very good thing there and stays on the objective even for a little while just to keep a lid on that Kanga capture so they can't get too far out in front. But it's Frozen Guard. It's 84% and climbing. Full commit here. Every cooldown. Fire Strike just barely ice block. That man is quick.
Oh, but the overpower, it's back up. They get rid of Rashao in this case, and that's so important. Now they don't have the Anar to get in there and get a touch. Sadok goes down. No more frontliners for Space Station Gaming. They're going to tumble in. Everyone throwing themselves at the wall trying to get a touch. It's not going to matter. Kanga win point 4, and we're going to a game 7.
I mean, phenomenal stuff there. Both teams really, really showing expertise in a lot of ways. I love that final play from Freeze God just to get that touch, canceling the sword to fall through the Pyre Strike while ice blocked was phenomenal. I think Gara even having the thought to try and go for that Pyre Strike was great as well. But ultimately it comes down to lulled into that false sense of security with the Torvald, I think. That is not necessarily the same type of power pick that it is on Frozen Guard on such an open map where a character like that with no mobility and frankly who is not very tanky at base, he really, really relies on his team, and Sadok is such a powerful, potent player for SSG. For him to have to just kind of take the hands off the wheel and let somebody else drive is a scary thought. Well,
we can all breathe easy now. That was very, very contended Frozen Guard. We're headed to a Game 7, but first we're headed back to the desk.
Game 7 was exactly what we sign up for, man. This is what makes the Paladins Premier League so exciting. And that last one, Kanga really pulling it out and getting us here.
And it was honestly going to be partially Chronix, but a lot of it was Evil Eye. The entire team was making some insane plays. I mean, look at Barrick's damage numbers. He out-damaged the Cassie, almost matched Evil Eye in terms of numbers. But the biggest thing is that Evil Eye made some of the biggest plays when his team needed it. It was one of those things like Chronix was almost consistently there, 14-10, 12-10, 9-8. Like, it's not cool, we're blowing people out of the water. It's not we're absurdly strong here. It is whenever we're getting these kills is when they matter most around the point.
Yeah, the sharpshooter for sure, Evil Eye. Chronix a little bit more of the wide paintbrush here, just slapping it down and creating a masterpiece. Chronic has really become the bro here and just done a great job maintaining that dedicated DPS position and allowing Shaolin to really come in behind and finish things off. A lot of what he started was finished by his teammates.
And one of the biggest things, and again, this comes down to the fact that you're forcing Inara onto the objective. That's like the goal for SSG, right? It's like send Inara there, let her be healed by Amal Damba, let Torvald stay on the side. They just burned down Rachel like it was nothing. Like, they would be like, cool, Inara kill. All right, send the next one. And then Torvald's forced to walk in here in a 4v5, and that's assuming they killed Inara first. Sometimes they get Eevee, sometimes they get Victor, sometimes they just straight up get Torvald. And so Kanga were target prioritization like 100% of the way, and it was working so well for them. Frozen Guard, like Torvald, I think what Nick said best, kind of lulls you into a false sense of security.
Yeah.
Thinking, cool, we got this one in the bag, but he can still be beaten. It's just hard to do it.
Exactly. The Eevee didn't really do what we expected it to do either. And that's really, you know, if you're going to, the entire draft was around the fact that Spacestation had gotten the Torvald and the Eevee, and it just didn't go in their direction.
And it's that big question as to whether or not I feel like they kind of pulled themselves in two directions, right? Torvald, Eevee, Victor even kind of feels like one style of play, we're going to be aggressive. And Inara Maldamba kind of pulls in another direction to me, and so it kind of feels like it was almost conflicting for themselves, whereas Kanga, they just Barrett, Khan, Cassie, Furia, Shaolin, like every single one of those is I'm going to get in your face, we're going to push you back, and even if we can't get the push, which they came very close to getting several times, we're going to control this point fight so well that you can't do anything about it.
Repeatedly, Kanga return, and they're able to return this one all the way home into the win column. And so game number 7. When it comes down to the last option, the real rubber match, what do we expect to see these players pull out? I mean, we had seen some oddball stuff, the Grovers. Are we expecting to see any more of that stuff now that it's down to the caboose?
Honestly, this is that moment where I think we see kind of a return to standards more than anything at all. Like, it's awesome to pull out maybe a Grover, maybe a Terminus, and if you think it'll give you the leg up, I'd love for these teams to go for it. But it's also that moment of, oh, it's only one more. Yeah. Like, if we lose this one, like either team, if we lose this one, we're done for today. And like for SSG, it has implications outside of this set. For Kanga, it's like, if we lose this one, that sucks. Like, I'm pretty sure this is one of the few sets they have this week. But like, you come into it and you're just like, if we lose this one, we look at tomorrow. We look at next week. We look at what did we do wrong in the last game. If you're SSG, you go, oh no.
Yeah,
we got to do this again later.
Envy, theoretically the better team.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly going to be an uphill battle. SSG with thoughts of the last game, immediately ban out the Torvald. Not going to see that guy anytime soon. Torvald Eevee bans. Spacestation said, well, we tried that, so let's go back to the beginning. Ban it out.
Just erase everything.
Yep.
Forget it happened. Let's keep moving on. And I think that's kind of the big thing. Last game was a good way to play with bans, but it very obviously didn't do what they thought it would. Mm-hmm. And it seems, and this honestly I think is less a testament to them playing it and more a testament to Kanga playing against it. And like, you know, earlier I was saying, why would you play Makoa in scrims? Or why would you let Makoa through in scrims? Why would you pick him in scrims?
Right.
And honestly, it's not for you to get experience playing Makoa. It's the other team getting experience beating Makoa or trying to. And that's the same thing with Torvald. Sometimes you got to let him through to figure out what makes him work and
that's
how
fair.
To break him down.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely what Kanga did there. So the first selection, Khan, will return. We'll see if it's good enough to bring SSG all the way to the finish line here. Kanga on the clock one more time. On Bright Marsh, some interesting spots here. I really like to see Bomb King take advantage of that internal area. Ash, also one of my favorite characters on this map specifically. Just the ability to really lock down that interior is very, very important.
This is one map where we've seen a lot of strategies are focused on, like, you know, it's CQC, it's close quarters combat. You're going to be locked in a room with the other guy. Bomb King's really good here because of that. It's going to be like, cool, you can't run away from me. You can't really peek around a wall to get away from me. Like, I can just rush you down and lock you up. But it's also one of those maps that when teams go for it, and teams that really like him will, Ruckus will come out for a very similar reason, where it's just, you can't outrun me. I can dash at you. Even if you go around that corner, I can catch up to you. I don't know if SSG are going to pull it out since they already have the con. They kind of need someone to fight on the point. But that's one of those picks where you never, well, now they're definitely not going to, but it could always come through.
Tyra and Inara selected here for SSG. Inara, one of the stronger tanks around, just not going to be taken down very easily. And Tyra on the other side, the one that excels at taking her down. So, an interesting look there. Important for SSG, I think, to have a quarterback mentality. That's going to be up to the American coach Kresnik to try and teach his squad the American football terminology. But the idea is just play by play. Forget what the last game even happened. Just forget about it. In a best of 5, a best of 7, when it's 4 games in, 5 games in, it's very important to remember the set and how everything went and how your games have gone. Now that you're at the final game, the singleton game right here, man, forget about it all and just bring your best. That's always what you see teams sort of preach when you ask them, how do you approach Game 7? And I think that's the absolute way to do it. So SSG have to return.
That's like that mindset. I mean, you were, mentioning football, but when you think about it, you come in halftime and he says, you're going into the second half. It's like, play like it's the first half. Play like it's 0-0. Do not play like you are ahead. Don't play, and if you're the team behind, don't play like you're behind. Play like you are coming into this and it's an even slate.
Ooh.
And that's the kind of advice here. It's 3-3. Don't care about that. Come in, say, we're in game 1, we're playing on Bright Marsh. Let's do whatever we can. Take some of the notes that you've learned from the last one when it comes to drafts, but play like it's a new game.
Real quick, Pip on Bright Marsh. What's your take? I kind of like it because of the interiors.
I love it. Well, partially because it is his home, but also because he works really, really well here. For the same reason Bomb King does, right?
Yep.
You're locked in a room with him. It's very difficult to get away from the potion launcher. It's very difficult to get away from the slow. And, of course, Evil Mojo, when it comes down to it, really good at killing Ash. Potentially this Barrack if he comes through anybody who happens to get hit by him.
Kanga here selecting their last tank. They've got Maeve, Maldamba, Cassie. Ash needs a point tank alongside. Barrack is the default choice, I feel like.
Yeah.
You could go into something a little bit more creative, but I think Barrack is absolutely the default choice.
It actually opens up that weird conversation of, right now where teams see Barrack. A lot of teams, I think, value Barrack, honestly, over Inara as a point tank. He usually performs better, and, as weird as it is to say it, he's one of the only people who could out-survive an Inara. But when you have something Inara Furia, you can heal up just as fine. This is going to be a battle, I think, that's won more on the side. The Khan, the Ashe, I think, are going to make the big difference. The Tyra, the Maeve, the Pip, and the Cassie are going to be, the big game changers. If one of them doesn't show up, everything falls apart.
Well, something's got to give. The final game here, we're heading into game number 7. We'll see who wins.
Well, there's no more after this, unfortunately, because this has been a wild way to start the day. Kanga, they stopped the bleeding. That's what I like to say.
Banger.
Oh, I thought we were going with the rhyming all the way through that one. That's what I like to say. No way, says Kanga in that last one. 3-3 is the way it is. Stopping a 3-game winning streak, notably, from Space Station. They easily could have just gone 4 straight, but now we're down to just 1. It's going to be Bright Marsh. It's going to be Kanga. It's going to be Space Station. They get the Pip, notably. Love seeing me.
The Shoey.
Just a little bit of Pip. Just the Shoey answering the call. Isn't a Shoey something entirely different?
Yes. Well, a Shoey is...
You pour beer in a shoe.
You take a drink of beer out of...
Got it. Okay.
Something I've had the pleasure of doing with Chronix's. One of my first...
Was it a new shoe? Was it a used shoe?
Mine was, yeah, because I was not planning on doing any shoeys. Actually, that's not... It was a very new shoe at that point, thankfully. Chronix's, can't say the same.
I think... Well, I don't want to speak for everyone,
it's
but I feel like one
it.
foot having been in a shoe is already too many feet for
me to want to drink a beer out of.
Yeah, I guess.
That's it's pretty gross. It is one of the grosser things I think I've drank the beer out of. But when Chronix calls,
when Chronix picks up the shoe phone, you better answer back. Surprisingly, although it looks like Space Station have the early aggression, they're kind of dictating the rotation here. Fine. Okay, I was going to say Space Station got back, but But Kanga to stick Jules on this barrack on the point here. Ooh, nice flick shot from Freeze God. Opens up the killing in this one. That's going to put Kanga at a 4v5 disadvantage, notably with Evil Eye going down. I was interested, of course, with Eevee being banned out, notably by Kanga. I was intrigued to see them going back to this Mave, something Evil Eye didn't have the greatest game on. As I said, he's able to trade out just in this case. 78% is garnered and climbing, I might add, for Spacestation here. It's a 3 versus 3. Rhino, that's a nice wall blocking him off. The shoulder bash is going to go through, but Ares is going to get the kill onto Evil Eye, and that's all she wrote. Early strike here from Spacestation. They're up 1-0.
Really, really tough stuff to deal with. I mean, you're seeing all of these shots connecting from Freeze God. When there's a hunting party mark applied, that Pip is swinging for 1,050 damage if he can leverage both Catalyst and Hunting Party, which is not that hard to do when you're hitting your shots as cleanly as Freeze God has been. The name of the game right now for Kanga Esports is to survive. They just have to not get 4-0'd.
Oh, no!
Huge Evil Mojo there, but no kills actually coming off the back of it. Everyone survived somehow?
I am frustrated at best if I'm Freeze God, and they get a kill on the backside. I didn't mean to cut you off. I saw 3 chickens suddenly running around and was so surprised, as you noted, that no kills came out of it. That's a lot of protein.
Sometimes that happens when there's too many to shoot at.
You don't know which way to go.
They're just like, ah! And everybody just shoots a different one, and nobody ends up dying there. And that's full duration chickens as well. That's the 4-second polymorph that everyone on Kanga was able to survive.
And you'll be a little bummed now that Kanga have absolutely fought back through a huge Evil Mojo from Freeze God. It was huge in every aspect of the word, and now Kanga got the full court press going in, as we like to say. The crossfire comes through for Ares, but he doesn't quite see Chronix plugging away at him.
Yeah.
The rest of the team does, though. He stays alive through it. Evil Eye, as I say it, cleans up that one. It's going to be a clean fight win here from Spacestation, only losing 1. They're not really anywhere close to the payload. Dancing forward now is Rashao to get the maximum push time. 50 seconds left, though. Kanga didn't burn really anything. They have the Evil Mojo almost up for Spacestation, but they really had to use some ultimates just to get back to the payload here.
This is going to be a pretty quick resilience rush down if you're Kanga Esports. The seismic crash, the Evil Mojo, stuff you don't want to deal with. Even Overpower is going to help a little bit with that. Commander's Grab and things of the like. Pyre Strikes you'll be able to eat with confidence. Your Crush will just fall in love with you, and they do finally grab an Evil Mojo.
I was going to say, I thought he was going to get away again, Rhino. Joel's actually, this is well played from him. He's able to stay alive despite being so low here. Mid-Tau on the Furia finds a couple. Ares, Sadak make it 3. 4 seconds away. This will go into overtime, but it's so close to going through. They need to get down and get a touch. The dismounts, that's going to be so important. Good stall there. Rhino's able to get back through. He doesn't have the assert dominance. He just gets a touch. It's still really standing in place here thanks to Jules. The shield's going to be good. He's going to be the next to go. No more frontliners for Kanga. Spacestation Gaming likely are going to see this one through. That's a good mid-air shot from Chronix, but I don't think it's going to matter very much. Good slither from Jera. Wait, as I said, I mean, they're really bouncing back and forth here. I peaked just a little bit too soon, but it does end up going in. The stagger was too deep. 2-0 here from Spacestation. And Kanga really need to answer back if they want to extend this one. That was a very clean 2 points from SSG.
And that's pretty much exactly what you didn't want to see happen if you're a Kanga fan. And color me one of dems, because I am a damn Kanga fan. The Pip is really important not to allow to snowball you early on, but that's kind of exactly what was happening. He's top damage, hitting big Evil Mojos. You know, it's okay to get 2-0'd there as long as you hang in there long enough. The bare minimum of what you want in a game like this for Kanga is to be able to buy your level 2 offensive items, which they do for the most part. Chronix grabs his caught 2 for Evil Eye and Rhino as well. Chronos 2 for Gera. Joel grabs Resilience. So they're hanging in there. They're doing about as well as they can for the situation that they're in at the moment.
5 strong on Resilience over on the side of Spacestation, though. Those Dread Serpents assert dominance. The likes are going to be really mitigated in this case. Still fighting with Fast Cap now, or Kanga. They need to find an early kill. Unfortunately, it goes the opposite direction. Here's that assert dominance.
Nice catch.
He grabs her right out of it, but that's going to give Rhino a second chance and actually drops Freeze God here, but Ares has been allowed to free fire in the back line. Make it a triple now for the Tyra. Quadra gets stolen away. And Space Station Gaming, they were on the point that entire time. This is going to be point number 3 likely, unless Evil Eye is able to make a big play. He's going to get sniffed out right here, gets the overtime touch. Don't think it's going to matter very much though, Nick.
That's where things, it's getting ugly now for Kanga Esports, and part of that is Aries playing so well on this Tyra, getting good marks, team shotting effectively, gets the triple kill there, 16 streak, 18 streak for Khan, 15 streak for Inara. This is bad news bears for Kanga Esports.
And this is tough. I mean, this potential 4-0 almost doesn't really do this set justice. You'll be thrilled if you're an SSG fan because it could go through. They're going to fight back here. Kanga very much still in the realm of possibility. It's not over until it's over here. Chronic's starting to pop off. He needs to find his rhythm on this Cassie as well. But the way this set has gone, you almost hope if you're just a generic fan of the game that this one goes the full distance here.
Shout out to all my generic fans out there. Yeah, thanks for coming out tonight. We love y'all.
We do love y'all. And it is 3-0, but this is
champions of a good, clean fight representing.
Is this a good, clean fight, though? I guess
right now, it's a little dirty. I think SSG are giving Kanga the business. Nice flank from Evil
wow.
Eye. This is what we've been missing from Maeve. This is what FRZ got did so well on Shattered Desert, was penetrate into the back line and make sure that he takes care of business.
A good body block on the shoulder bash as well. Keeps Rhino right in place, so that's a good team fight win from Space Station. But again, I feel like I'm rewatching the same story as last time. They're fighting back just to get to the payload here with a minute left. Kanga are gonna be able, to react and kind of get back and get their defenses set a little bit further forward than what they did last time. They were really fighting from base last time around. Space Station 5 ultimate strong to maybe push this one through. Only 3. Ooh, that's a good midnight, actually. Mitigates a lot of the early pressure coming out. But Sadak, Rochelle, they find 2. The Inflame buys a little bit of time, but it's not going to matter. Evil Eye only with 1. This is going to be another team fight win from Space Station. They're going to round the corner here. And Kanga, they're on their last leg.
And with Enflame Crossfire as well. Kanga Esports have everything to fight back except for the midnight. Which is good. They're going to need to use some stuff that you can't. The set is going to be over if they fail to defend here, so look for the ultimates to come out from Kanga Esports.
Overpower, Seismic Crash, Evil Mojo, so much CC, so much utility still around for Space Station Gaming. There's the Dread Serpent. No damage to follow up onto Freeze God just as of yet, though. Ooh, the Evil Mojo gets used. They don't find the kill, though. Rashao answers back with 1. The Dome Shield ticking away right around the payload here. It depends if Chronix is able to stay alive and find these kills. Seismic Crash just goes short. Chronix goes down. Aries has 2. Joel's needs to stay alive as long as he possibly can, but that's not going to be very long. Assert dominance from the high ground, though. That could buy time for the rest of Kanga to respawn and get back into it, but they're still 4 members strong right now for Space Station. No damage coming through, and they're staying alive.
Oh, if only he knew that Pip was down there, but SSG, they just know how to put it together in the late game. Very, very well done on Brightmarsh.
That's tough. I mean, a full Game 7 set, well fought from Kanga. That's got to be hard for them, though. You fight to the very bitter end. A 4-0 goes the way of SSG in this case. They wrap up the first set 4-3. That's only set number 1, and notably, Space Station have to play in set number 3 today.
Yeah, they have to do this again. Space Station going to be pretty warmed up and I think effective in their final set of the game. They're going to take a little bit of a break, though. We do have a set in between Renegades Knights, which is also could be a 7-game.
It could be
a banger.
It could be a day of 4-3s, absolutely, with the way these teams have been playing. 4-3 is set number 1. Renegades really on the upswing. Didn't find any wins last week, but definitely looking like they're a better, more cohesive team. Let's send it back to the desk to break down set number 1.
Thanks again, Dolson. Generic fan Tom Battinger here next to the amazing analyst that is Gormizer. And as we take a look at those teams celebrating and shaking hands, we will say congratulations to Space Station Gaming earning the victory. And I use that word earning very specifically.
Well, it was actually one of those things very similar to what I had said about the Splitstone Quarry when I was like, cool, this was a 4-0. That's what SSG need. Like when you're down 2-0 at that point, you need something to really punch back. The same thing can be said about Kanga after map number 5. You go to Frozen Guard, you kind of want it to be a 4-0 so you can punch back as hard as you can. but it goes the 4-3, which is a shaky victory. Like, even though they were in control of a lot of the point fights, you could tell that they weren't all there, and I think that became more apparent as we transitioned here to Bright Marsh.
When it comes down to it, I think that Space Station Gaming are a team that benefits from being able to see the opposition. This is an adaptation team. You know, as we said, their first game, we wind up with a loss, but it gives them a chance to see what Kanga are doing, and then they're able to fight back. We saw a number of times how Space Station were just able to make it happen. Here, Sadak turns up on the Big Bomb King, 10-2 and 25 for the Big King himself.
It's going to be incredible for him. I'm actually more impressed, honestly, by anything on this board. Is actually how many resiliences were bought this game. 10 all through. I don't think I've ever seen one item bought by every player in the game, but it was something that was necessary, and this is actually something we talk about a lot. When you have the Khan, you have the Pip, you have the Inara, all of those ults are going to be very heavy CC, and that's kind of what Kanga needed to fight against that.
For sure.
Unfortunately, you could see, especially towards the end of that fight, how well they were able to use them in conjunction with each other to find control. Even though some of them didn't have the follow-up. I mean, Evil Mojo came out at the very end, didn't find a kill, but it was enough to scare Kanga that they couldn't keep up the pressure.
We saw a fantastic Pip performance earlier as well when he was able to get one of those Evil Mojos through the window. It was so fresh, and again, that performance is what allows Space Station to usurp this victory right out from underneath Kanga. These guys were, I was sitting there after game number 2 just going like, oh, well, okay. It's,
we're going to be done by noon, surprisingly enough.
Easy. Space Station said absolutely not, and made this a much more difficult set and a much more enjoyable set to watch, frankly. Seeing teams be able to respond and come back, that's where the money is.
And being able to find the maps they did, and as convincingly as they did, right? Shattered Desert is a 4-3. You have Frozen Guards a 4-3. Both of those kind of shaky on grounds for both teams when it comes down to it, and only able to pull ahead. I think it was actually the perfect case scenario for SSG to, unfortunately, like as much as they would have loved to win map 6, lose map 6 and be like, cool, Bright Marsh, one of our starter maps, is still available. Like, let's just go there and find a 4-0.
Easy for Space Station. Maybe not so easily. You know what? Why don't we ask them ourselves? Sadak and Aries standing by with the post-game interview.
Easy for Space Station, says F. I'll start off with sort of a generic question maybe to follow up on that. Kanga come out swinging very fast 2-0. What changed for you guys that allowed you to win 3 straight after that?
And like, come on, boys, let's wake up, let's do this, come on.
So Doc, talk to me about Terminus. What inspired you to bring this out after so long of him just not being seen?
I mean, I love him. He's still baggy, though. He's still baggy. But I don't know. I see the opportunity and I took it.
What was the opportunity that you saw, and what was like, okay, this is time for Terminus? Is it just your confidence in the character?
Yeah, basically my confidence. I didn't want to play Ashe. That's why.
And Aries, for you, Tyra, I think today was really something special. Is that a pick that you're going to look to lean on more in this NB set coming up later today?
I was talking to my team, like I was another support for my team because I wasn't doing anything, just marking and come on, guys. The strategy is like, I'm going to mark you guys Q, and that's it.
You guys have the first doubleheader of this phase. Do you think it's going to be a benefit? You said, wake up, momentum-based team. Is it going to be helpful that you play this best of 7, or are you guys going to be kind of running out of gas in that NB set later today?
I think this set was really good for us because we have been through a lot of things in this set that like we can work on, and we're going to be like more prepared for the NB right now. I think.
Gotcha, guys. Well, congratulations. That was a long one, almost 3 hours here against Kanga. We're going to throw it to a quick break, and when we're back, Pittsburgh Knights versus Detroit Renegades.
Paladins Premier League, brought to you by Evil Mojo, Hi-Res Studios, INAP, Respawn, SteelSeries, Alienware, and Shot.